In this incredible book, B.S. Johnson experimented with formatting to represent the mental decay, and rich inner lives, of his characters. Though care has been taken to remain faithful to his vision, inconsistencies across digital reading systems mean that this ebook's layout will vary by platform. We have taken Johnson's line breaks as intentional and treated them as poetry, applying hanging indents when a line breaks over the edge of the device screen. If many lines in the text break in this way, consider reading in landscape mode or lowering your device's font size setting. This ebook has been optimized for the Georgia typeface, on Kindle Fire at the 4th smallest font size and iBooks at the 3rd smallest size. On any device, however, we recommend reading in portrait mode at the smallest comfortable font size, and setting the margins and spacing to narrow. House Mother introduces. Friend, I may call you friend, these are also our friends. We no longer refer to them as inmates, cases, patients, or even as clients. These particular friends are also known as NAs. Since they have no effective relatives, are orphans in reverse, it is often said. You may if you wish join our social evening. Friend. You shall see into the minds of our 8 old friends, and you shall see into my mind. You shall follow our social evening through 9 different minds. Before entering each of our old friends' minds, you will find a few details which may be of interest to you. A CQ count, for instance, is given, that is, the total of correct answers, which were given in response to the 10 classic questions. Where are you now? What is this place? What day is this? What month is it? What year is it? How old are you? What is your birthday? In what year were you born? Who is on the throne now, king or queen? Who was on the throne before, for senile dementia? You find our friends dining, first, and later. Singing, working, playing, traveling, competing, discussing, and finally being entertained. Sarah Lamson. Age 74. Marital status widow. Sight 60%. Hearing 75%. Touch 70%. Taste 85%. Smell 50%. Movement 85%. CQ count 10. Pathology. Contract years, incipient hallux valgus, osteoarthritis, suspected late paraphrenia, among others. Not like this muck, they give us muck, here, I made him a proper dinner, gave his belly a treat after all that gas. But he could hardly eat, the poor boy, what I put before him was faggots in a lovely gravy, it was something special I made, for him, just for him, then, not like this slimy brown muck they slosh on everything here, can't think why they do it, what the point is, not on my life, no. And I could see his eyes light up as he saw it, it was really like being at home for him, that's when he realized it, for the first time that first day, I think. But then he couldn't eat it, the first mouthful, and he was sick, he had to rush out the yard to the car seat and I was left. Now what's she done wrong? Mrs. Rich. In trouble again, she asks for it, she must like the twitcher. Really? I could hear him in there, standing at the door as I was, looking at them faggots and the new peas I'd shelled that morning, and thinking of the butter I'd mashed his toddies with and how little Ronnie had had to go without for a week, though I gave him his dad's later, he did enjoy it, that day, for his tea. And when he came in from the yard you could tell he was that ill, by his color, and he asked me to come up and lie on the bed with him, and I did, though it was just After midday, and he just sort of lie there, with his eyes shut and his face all tight, without bothering to turn down the counterpane to rest his head on the pillow, and it was greasy with brilliantine. Or something such like, but I couldn't say anything, could I? Not that he touched me, he lie there with his hands crossed across his belly, like he was dead already, not touching me. Just wanting me near him, he said, to feel I was there, and I don't think he could have done anything with me anyway. Then, it was months before he was a real husband to me again. Ah. Clear up, clear up, it's all on the hurry up in this place. Now what's she saying? How can you be quiet about clearing up knives and forks? How can anyone? Though these cardboard plates can't make any noise, because if, here, Ivy, no, I haven't finished yet. Last scrapings of this muck they give us here, but I'm hungry, there's nothing else, nothing there. I'll walk, at least I can still walk, though that means she makes me do the running about. I have to clear up and wait on the others, these bent forks and knives, the knives not sharp at all, down here. I'm not washing up today, the sitters can at least do that. Sitters can. Now Mrs. Bowens knocked her plate down. Now she'll cop it? Yes. Her and that dog. Shouldn't be surprised if house mothers aren't really supposed to keep pets, could write to them about it, her and that bloody great dog. Get on with it, help Ivy, get on. She won't get it done sooner by shouting at me. I go as fast as I can. Yes I do, can't go any faster. Nearly done. There, at last that's done, sit down again, next to Charlie. Later I'll get round him for a cigarette. I know he's got some. Oh, not that song again. What good does it do? Better sing, though, don't want to cross her again, no. The joys of life continue strong throughout old age, however long. If only we can cheerful stay and brightly welcome every day. Not what we've been, not what we'll be. What matters most is that we're free. The joys of life continue strong throughout old age, however long. The most important thing to do is stay alive and see it through. No matter if the future's dim. Just keep straight on and trust in him. For he knows best, and brings good cheer. Oh, lucky us, that we are here. The most important thing to do is stay alive and see it through. Well, I suppose it pleases her, at any rate. Listen to her now, work, work, I've known nothing else all my life. Who does she think she's taking in? Good deed indeed, she must make something out of all this, though it's not sweated labor by any manner of means. I will say that for her, it's not arduous, and she can't get much for these Christmas crackers they make. Wonder who does the fillings, the mottos, we used to enjoy crackers that Christmas before he went. There was an old-fashioned Christmas if you like. It snowed that year, it did, very unusual for London to snow on Christmas Day. Don't remember any other years it happened, in fact, and how it changed the look of everything. People started acting differently too. People you knew only to nod at suddenly joined in snowballing in the street outside, as though you'd all been kids together, had grown up in the same street. And we had some money for a change, had a bird instead of a joint, a capon. The baby had some giblet gravy with roast potato mashed up in it, very nourishing for him it was. Knowing he was for the front made him depressed, then suddenly he'd be so cheerful, such good company, he made it a wonderful Christmas for all of us. Him and his brother, they did a sort of act for us. Jim got up as a woman, makeup and all, we ached from laughing, they were so comical, the pair of them. Ached from eating too much, as well. I never, me and Charlie. Trustees, she talks to us. As though we were doing bird, indeed, one of these days I'll show her how trusty I am. What's Charlie got in them bottles, then? Looks like gin, smells like spirits, too, she must be at it again, the crafty old chiseler. Still, what's it got to do with me? Glad I haven't got the job, anyway, never could stomach the smell of spirits. I told him that before we were married. Stick to your pint, I said. Don't you come home here reeking to high heaven of spirits. I won't have it in my home. Yes. Little bottles, what are they? Soak the labels off, I bet. Use the bowl from the sink, I'll stand them in that, in water, would some soap help? Do you want me to keep the labels? My nails are broken, have been for years. But give the bottles a good old soak and they'll come off. Shall I use a knife? Good, this is an easy job, I can get on with that, it helps to pass the time, I don't mind. Get the bowl, fill it with water. What's in these little bottles? Chlorobenzo. Can't read it properly, whatever it is. No matter, none of my business anyway. Charlie, have you got a fag? Mean old sod. And I know he smokes. Like my Ronnie, always telling lies. I'd catch him with the fag in his hand. And he'd put it behind his back and drop it and breathe out the smoke all over the kitchen and swear he wasn't smoking at all. And he married a like one, his kind. Oh, I hated that creature. Bad as my Ronnie was, he didn't deserve her. No, never. Lie, she would lie her way black and blue out of anything. You could catch her out any number of times and she would still deny it. I gave up in the end. You just couldn't rely on anything she said, anything at all, anything even as simple as just meeting you for shopping. She'd lie about who she'd just seen and what she'd just bought and how much money she'd won on the bleeding dogs. I'd no time for her. It must be 20 years since I saw her. 15 since I last saw my Ronnie, too. He came into the pub we had in Strutton Ground then. I was so surprised to see him walk in. He had a Guinness and no more than a dozen words to say to me, a dozen words, and most of them he could hardly get out. He was that ashamed, I think. Ashamed of not going to see his old mum for all that length of time, months it was, perhaps a year. Not like Laura's son, twice a week he used to visit her regularly, once for a cup of coffee at lunchtime early in the week, and later, there. That's enough soaking. Let's see if these little labels will come off now. No, tough little customers they are. It's not waterproof paper, is it? Can't be? Perhaps it would help if I scratched them a bit to let the water soak in better. A fork would do it? Yes, that's easier. Let's try doing that to all of them. I wonder if Ronnie knows I'm here? Not that he'd want to visit me. No one gets any visitors here anyway, but I'd like to see him just the once more before I pass over, just the once. He wouldn't have to see me if he didn't want to, no. As long as I could see him, out of a window. Perhaps, going along the road, just the once. As long as she wasn't with him, the barren sow, she could never give him any kids, and I know he always wanted kids. My Ronnie, he was ever so good with them, look how. He used to go and play football with them until he was quite a grown man, used to run a team for them as well. He used to get me to wash the team shirts each week in the winter. It was a trial. Getting them dry, it was. She wouldn't wash them. I doubt if she washed Ronnie's own things properly. Let alone the team's. She was that lazy. Doris was her name. Yes, Doris. I wouldn't want to see her again. No, just my Ronnie, once. Does he think I'm dead? How could he know I'm here? Could I find him? How? Could ask house mother. She'd laugh at the idea, brush it aside, take no notice. I'm afraid of her. Not her. Now let's see if they'll come off. Yes. Nearly there. If I have a good scrape at this one, then by the time it's off the others will be even more soaked, already. What does she want with them? Yellowy sort of stuff inside, yellowy, runny, nasty looking stuff. In summer there everyone seemed to take life easily, so easily, it was as though there were no pain, no work either. Everyone had time to just walk about, go swimming, sunbathing, get up boat races, and go dancing. They danced a new dance called the gavotte, or it was new to me, anyway, being a foreigner. And they danced in the streets, too. That was new, the streets, lit by paper lanterns in their fashion. And the sun so hot at midday that the market women put up their red umbrellas for shade, and the men went into these sort of cellar pubs that sold wine. I never went into one, could only see down into them that they were cool and shaded, and there was a lot of laughing, and the tables had zinc tops, and so did the bar, a long bar. The bottles kept in holes, no labels. I was so thirsty I went to a cafe down on the promenade with the children. Little Ronnie was all right, but that Clarissa was a little bastard to me. She knew she could play me up with safety, and she took advantage of it. I could have been so happy. There was so much sun, and the life was easy. Apart from Clarissa, and she was my job, to let her parents have some time free of her. That is, for she was a little bastard to them, as well as to me. I wonder what she could have become. She was already an honorable, I think, Clarissa, and it was doing little Ronnie so much good. The sea air and 3 good meals a day. The food was good in that hotel, even for those in service, and it seemed as though it would go on forever. The summer, the sun, and for the first time since the war I really felt that things were getting back to normal, though all the ones who could remember better than I could were saying that things would never be the same, never could be, after the war, which I could understand in the case of someone like myself, who'd lost their husband because of the war, but not those who'd not lost their nearest and dearest in it. And it was there I think I first got over Jim's death, not got over it, exactly, but accepted my lot, that I was a young widow with a young kid, like lots of others, that this was what my life was, that this was what I was. In that seaside town in France where Jim had got gassed, though not the same place, of course, and I think Clarissa's father may have had something to do with it. It was the first time I had seen a man's parts when he tried to get me down on my hotel bed, since Jim's, that is, and I think that must have made me realize there were other men in the world. Seems silly now, though at the time it was a frightening thing to happen. Perhaps if he'd asked me, or gone about it in a different way, I'd have let him, though I knew it was wrong and I respected his wife. I might even have enjoyed it. It was 2 years since Jim had gone, but he was so rough and arrogant with it. He seemed to think because I was a servant he could order me about in anything, order me to do that, like he could order me to clean his shoes. Which I didn't like. The brazenness of it just came up to me while I was at my dressing table. Unbuttoned already he was, and seized my hand and made me hold his part, and when I drew back, naturally, he got rough and threw me on the bed and would have had his way with me had I not yelled and screamed fit to make the whole hotel hear. And so he got up and buttoned himself up with his back to me, swearing all the time vilely at me, and little Ronnie, woken up by all this noise, standing up in his cot and wondering what was happening to his mum. And of course I didn't last long after that. He couldn't look at me after that. Clear up now. Nearly finished. Just scrape off these last two. There. Now give them all a wipe. And put them all back in their nice little cardboard sockets. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 16 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 24 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 16 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 48. 2 cases of 24 is what I started with. The satisfaction of finishing a job well done. Here, Mrs., I've finished. How nice to be thanked. The warmth. Very pleased indeed, she said. That pleases me. A job well done. And the time passed, too. Now what's she want? Pass the parcel? We used to play that, didn't we? Don't want to play much now. Why does she give us games? I just want to sit quietly after working so much. But I suppose I'd better be sociable. Me to start off. Pass it to Charlie. What is it? Brown paper, soft. It stopped at Mrs. Ridge first, but she won't be able to open it all in time. Oh. It stopped at me. Open, open, get the paper off, I won't be the winner. There, it started again. Stink. What is it? Ron's got it, he'll get it open. What is it, Ron? How disgusting. Why does she do a thing like that? Glad I didn't win, glad I didn't win. It was the third husband I'd buried. I was getting used to it. All the market crowd in Strutton ground chipped in and gave him a great send-off. He was a popular landlord. Flowers, I never saw so many flowers. And the customers, too, bought the odd one for Fred, they did. But it didn't worry me too much. The brewers let me take on the license, and within weeks it was just the same, as though he'd never existed. That pub used to have a sort of life of its own, then. And during the war, of course, you didn't have to sell beer, it sold itself. It was getting hold of enough of it that was the difficulty. Oh yes. And crisps. There was only one place you could Generally get crisps, then, and that was up on the North Circular Road. Many's the time I've caught a trolleybus up the Edgware Road to Staples Corner and come, exercise. Haven't we had enough? Oh well, up we get. It's not for long. She thinks it does us good, perhaps it does. It doesn't kill me, anyway. I'll push that George Hedbury round. Not much company, but there you are. Off we go. George, can you hear me? Deaf as a post, deaf as a post, daft as a donut. 1 2 3 4. Round and round, round and round. And so it goes on. That Laura was a great one for her Guinness. Sometimes I've seen her knock back 30 in an evening. But she was a quiet drinker. You'd never know. She'd had too many till she fell down when she tried to get up. This bloody pushchair needs oiling or something. But she was a good friend to me. We had many a good time together. She pulled me out of many a dark time. Like when Ronnie married that Doris. And after the cat got run over, Maisie. We kids used to run about in felt slippers then, they were the cheapest, a cut above the barefoot kids. It was our way of tired of pushing, but still carry on. Slog, slog. They were the good old days, it's true. And where were we when we were wanted? Oh, we were there all right, slapping the sandbags on the incendiaries, ducking down the shelters when the he started. All that sort of thing. That's enough. I can't push any more. I'm going to stop whether she likes it or not, going to stop. A sit at last. Rest my legs. Sport. She certainly keeps us on the go. Tourney. That means me pushing someone, I suppose. Up again, Sarah, you can do it? Lean on George's bath chair till I have to move, take the nearest corner, Charlie'll have to go further with Mrs. Bowen. George doesn't seem too well. Prop the mop under his arm, keep it steady. Ready. Go. Trundle, Trundle, not as young as I used to be, get up speed. There. Silly old fool let the mop drop and caught hers in the chops. Not so fast this time. Keep up the mop now, George. There, that must have hurt him. You all right? Seems all right. I should think it is the last time. Oh. That surely hurt him. But he says nothing, George, just takes it. Wheel him over to his place and sit down again. My legs are getting worse, I'm sure they swell up with all this standing. It's like a dull ache. Poor old thing. Let her talk away, I'm not interested, it's a rest for me. And my poor legs. On his back for months, my Jim, going slowly, you couldn't see it day by day, but suddenly I'd realize that compared with a month or so before he was definitely down. And he found it difficult to talk. More and more. For days I knew he was trying to bring himself to say something, and then it all came out. He'd been with some girl in Franco, they all did, he said, went to some brothel, and he was so guilty about it, as though it were some great crime he'd committed. Perhaps it was to him, then. But to me it didn't matter, because I could see he was dying, everybody could, nothing seemed to matter but that fact, and that I had to make the most of what there was. Nothing in the past mattered, neither the good things nor the others. His guilt was of no interest to me, or the girl I just forgave him as he seemed to want me to, and it did relieve his mind. You could see that he just sank back, and very quickly fell asleep. He kept a spit bowl by his bed. That was the worst part, emptying that. The yellowy green stuff and the blood, he couldn't get out to the car seat, either, but somehow emptying his spit bowl was worse, like throwing away bits that were him. I tell them my troubles, they tell me theirs. We had a good feed at a chip place, before he went off to his football. I went round the shops, all excited inside all the afternoon. Perhaps it was expecting what, laugh. Ha ha. Ha, ho ho ho. I wish I'd been kind to old people then, now I know how it is. It's always the same, you can never know until you actually are. And then it's too late. You realize which are the important things only when it's too late, that's the trouble. However much he made it was always too little. I always had to watch every penny so carefully. In the butcher's I had to take what he'd give me cheap, and his dirt and insolence. No one has ever treated me like a queen. You'd think every girl would be treated like a queen by someone at some time in her life, wouldn't you? But not me. Perhaps I never deserved it, perhaps I never treated any man like a king. Now what's she rucking Ivy for? Oh, she's going through that again. Is she? She don't half fancy herself. Well, I don't, and it's filthy, so I shan't watch though. She may think I am. My idea of a holiday was never the sea, anyway. On those pub outings, they never looked at the sea in any case. All they were interested in looking at was the insides of the pubs along the front at Southend, one after the other. They went into the first next to the coach park, and so it went on, all along the front. They'd give the stakeholder half a quid each, and he'd buy the drinks as long as the money lasted. You could get big fat oysters on one stall. Only time I ever enjoyed them was down there. My dad would never eat shellfish, but once a year down at Southend, said they were never fresh anywhere else. Cockles I'd have, too. And those little brown English shrimps, very tasty. But whelks I never could stand, far too gristly and tough. The Coors all bored me, but all the men used to love it when the pubs were shut. What a disgusting spectacle. Why does she do it? Disgusting. Ugh. Never did like it, had to pretend, all my life pretended to like it. Listen to her. No, doesn't matter. Charlie Edwards. Age 78. Marital status: separated. Sight: 50%. Hearing: 80%. Touch: 80%. Taste: 95%. Smell: 30%. Movement: 85%. CQ count: 10. Pathology: contract ears, bronchitis, incipient leather bottle stomach, hypertension, among others. I have always liked a lamb chop. Even in the last days I managed to have a lamb chop once a week. Welsh lamb I found the best, though New Zealand is a close second. In my opinion. Even Betty knew that to please me she had only to give me a lamb chop. Here the lamb chops are mutton, I am certain. They are too big for any lamb. Where does a lamb end and a sheep begin? I used to see them in the fields. I know these are mutton. Sometimes they are tough. They are not always tough, though. They are Always stronger in taste than lamb. Lamb has a delicate flavor. The best lamb, that is, of course. Mutton. Tastes, again, every mealtime, that Mrs. Rich. Strong mutton is not. Without its own special attraction, of course. Perhaps. If I had not tasted lamb first I would have come to like mutton more. One day she will go too far and someone will report her to the authorities. Whoever the authorities are. Yes, perhaps I would now like mutton if I had tasted it before lamb. It is an accident. Perhaps. I can understand that they have mutton here rather than lamb. It is for cheapness. I am fortunate to be here. And mutton keeps me going as well as ever lamb would. That is their point of view, I am sure. Mutton has enough of the taste of lamb to make me remember. I do not miss lamb now. I do not miss anything now. There is no point. It is hard. Harder where there's none. As my old mum used to say. Harder where there's none. I still enjoy my food. I am lucky in that. Some of these poor old souls here do not even have that pleasure. And it is a pleasure to me. I am lucky to be here. Some would revolt at some of the things that woman says. I do myself. But I keep my feelings to myself. It would not do to be seen to revolt. I am in some ways revolting in myself. Sometimes I have to be changed, like a baby. Is that revolting? I finish my food cleanly. A clean plate. I place my knife and my fork as I was taught to do as a child. It is easy for Sarah to pick them up with one movement. I am a tidy man. I have been called fastidious by some. Betty had another word for it. What was it? She hated my tidiness. Anyway. As one gets older it becomes more and more difficult to control the Orden. Now there'll be a fuss. Just over dropping a plate. I noticed it first with spitting, for sometimes I would spit when speaking. And not always when I spoke with some vehemence, either. Sometimes I would spit without any warning. Even without there seeming to be any reason for it, too. I found it disturbing, but it was as nothing compared with what there was to come. I found myself not wanting to, not minding about spitting when I spoke. Is that worse? Sometimes I cannot worry about things like that. Yet there is always a worse. I have only to look at some of these poor old things here to know that I am not as bad as some. I am lucky in that. I am always more than ready to count my blessings. Life has taught me at least that. I can at least say that I was not a slow learner as regards life's lessons. As though anyone should ask, the song she wants us to sing, as usual. Well, singing is something I have always enjoyed. The music teacher asked me to sing in his choir, outside school. It was a church choir, in Hagerstown. Not because of your voice, he said, but because of your ear. You have perfect pitch. It was something unusual about me others did not have. The joys of life continue strong throughout old age, however long. If only we can cheerful stay and brightly welcome every day. Not what we've been, not what we'll be. What matters most is that we're free. The joys of life continue strong throughout old age, however long. The most important thing to do is stay alive and see it through. No matter if the future's dim. Just keep straight on and trust in him. For he knows best, and brings good cheer. Oh, lucky us, that we are here. The most important thing to do is stay alive and see it through. There was word amongst the boys that the music teacher was bent. I never saw it myself. Work. I'm retired. I'm not here to work. Though what she calls work is not what I would call work. Fancy goods, fancy goods. She thinks she's a pretty piece of fancy goods. Not my fault. I wasn't on fancy goods last time. That is a relief. She can't blame me. Relief. Crepe paper. Crepe. Crepe, crepe, what a word. Crepe. Crepe. Reason, I have always believed in reason. It was only necessary to be reasonable to be saved. But I have found many in my time who have disagreed. It is not important. Ah, now what does she want me to do tonight? Good that she relies on me, that she pour about a quarter into these empty ones. How many empty ones? Several dozen. I see. What is it in the bottles? No color, like water. Even when I open one I shall not necessarily know, since my sense of smell is not, yes, I understand. What's it say on the labels? Boca, boca. Can't understand that. No, I'll be very careful. I haven't let you down yet, have I? What's she going to give her to do? Nosy. I should mind my own. But she's got bottles, too. Little bottles. They look snug in their little cardboard compartments. Messy. Glad I haven't got a messy job. She'll get all messy doing that. I shan't, just pouring. I am a very careful pourer. That's why she chooses me to do these special jobs. Let us apply reason to this job. If I stand a line of empty bottles up, with a line of full ones in front of them. No, that wouldn't be very efficient because I'd have to keep moving the full ones anyway. Try again. If I fill the empty ones a quarter full with water, then I can pour from 3 full ones to top it up. Yes. A dozen at a time might be a suitable number too. Now, what's she want? No, Sarah, you know, I haven't got a cigarette. Disturbing my reasonable deliberations. Now then, let's try filling a dozen empties a quarter full with water. When Sarah's finished at the sink, line the dozen up, and a dozen full in front, and pour. Yes, a quarter each from 3 full ones and I've got a finished one. But what does she want me to do about the corks? Does she want them corked? I haven't enough corks to go round. Still, that's her problem. She'd have told me if she'd wanted them corked. Now, another, no, wait a minute, mate, here's a better way. If you pour water from 3 of the quarter filled empties into the 3 you quarter emptied. Better still if you'd filled the empties right to the top with water, but for 1 or 2. Then you could have. That's it, Charlie. Boy, you've got a scheme now. It's all sewn up. Off you go, back to the sink for more water. Easy now. Filling and pouring. Straightforward. For a careful person with at least some intelligence. Like I am. Straightforward. I can do it. Without thinking after a short while. Even might get to like it without too much trouble. Same as during the war. Soon learned to get on with it and like it. Got out of being sent on one draft. Because I was the aerodrome pianist, but couldn't dodge the second one. The first one I actually left Dover Aerodrome and was at Walmer, preparatory for leaving for the front. But the officer at Dover rang up and said, "Have you got Edwards there?" And they said yes, he's doing a good job clerking. Well, he'll do a better job playing the Joanna here, he said, send him back at once. So I went back in a staff car. Just as we arrived there was a general alert throughout the whole Dover patrol and everyone leapt about. Either bombs or shells were exploding as we drove across the approach roads. But no one got hurt. It was remarkable like that. So I was back to organizing socials and dances and concerts. By the end of 15 I was pianist and leader of an 8th piece. The personnel changed, of course, as people got drafted, but somehow our officer always avoided sending me until the autumn of 16, when I had to go. But the year and a bit I was there stood me in good stead. If it hadn't been for the experience I got, then I don't think I would have become a pro after the war. I found I was better at it than I thought I was. And I was making a tidy bit on the side from it, too. It was then I first realized that there was money to be made in this music game, far more money than in the clerking I had been doing up to then in the civil service. My disability pension wasn't much when I came out, but it was just enough to keep me going until I got myself a job playing in a cinema. A white sheet hanging up by its four corners in a church hall in Kingsland High Street. They didn't listen to what the pianist was playing. They only heard you if what you played didn't fit in with what was on the screen. I'd never really been to the pictures until then. But I soon enough picked up what was wanted. You had to keep on playing no matter what. They noticed if you stopped. Sometimes they would applaud. Since I was the only one live who had anything to do with it, it used to amuse me. I would take a bow as if I were Paderewski or someone like that. Sometimes we had a drum kit and other sound effects. The new films came in twice a week or sometimes oftener. I did not usually get any chance to see them before the first house. That was the worst house, too. They booed and yelled as if they were at a prize fight. There. That's the first dozen. Put them into their crate. Suppose this must be liquor of some sort. My sense of smell is nearly gone. I'd be lost in a fire. But don't ask questions. That's why she puts her trust in me. But can't help wondering to myself what it is, or where it's going. Perhaps it's going to one of those clubs like I used to play in the 20s. Before the rift came with Betty. Like the famous or notorious Mrs. Marshall's All-Up Club in Frith Street. All that dust up in the papers over bribing a police sergeant. They were all taking. It was not only the sergeant. Mrs. Marshall was just the type who would buy watered whiskey or stolen whiskey. Then she'd water it down herself. The customers were always complaining about the drink. She was very firm with them. She tried to run it as she would her own home, silly as it may sound. That's what she said to anyone who complained. However, one night the place would be full of gangsters, and the next you might even have royalty there. There was no telling. And it was all Mrs. Marshall's doing. She was that kind of powerful foo or RT. That's better. Woman. No man could dominate her, no indeed. She had her man, or rather men, of course. But one at a time. I've seen that woman set a man quivering with fear just with one look. That was enough. And he went sneaking out of the door just like a whipped cur. Yet she was kind enough when she wanted to be. She was very kind to me in her way. She could see that. I was dotty about Betty at the time, so there was never any question of my wanting to make advances to her. So really right from the start it was purely a business association. I could get her the quality players she needed for a place like that. And at the same time those boys were the souls of discretion itself about who they might see there and what they might see going on. And they needed to be. To people like us she was a good payer, too. I had no gripes. The only bandsman I really had trouble with was Ronnie Palmer. Later he made a name for himself, of a sort, on the wireless as a kind of poor man's Harry Lauder. But then he was violin doubling saxes for me at Mrs. M's all up. Ronnie was ill-bred anyway, and a bit too fond of the ladies with it. So fond that he was arranging for them to be available during band breaks and other odd times. Mrs. M wasn't keen on this on her own premises, especially when it involved several of the girls she had as cashiers and so on. But when she spoke sharply to him about it, he answered back. But he only just began to say something that I think meant he could blackmail her in some way, and she was on him. First of all she thumped him, and how he knew he'd been thumped, too. Then before he could think what he was doing she'd got an arm hold on him and had bounced him all the way to the back, where one of the kitchen porters took over and bounced him out to the dustbins. We had to get through that night without Ronnie. It was too late to find anyone to DEP for him. Perhaps it did him a good turn in the end. Next I heard of him he was in the BBC's own dance orchestra. Perhaps I should have tried to get into the wireless end of the business then. If I had had foresight, then I'd have had all the trouble and all the jealousies, and 100 to 1 I wouldn't have lived to be the age I am now. I should count my blessings. Where's Ronnie Palmer now? Dead, I should think. And he was younger than me. It would have pleased Betty though if I'd managed to be on the wireless. She was a great one for that kind of thing. Finished them just in time. All full. What about corks? Here she comes, down. What shall I do for corks for these, miss? Yes, I put those back afterwards. Right, miss. I don't know about the lifting, miss. She's not listening. After that so and so dog again. Hairs everywhere. Cork up. Dozens here in this box. Where does she get them? Anyway, they fit, won't take me long to finish this lot. Fingers can do this easily enough. I still hear pieces in my head, but I couldn't play them. Even if she had a piano here. Now she's having another go at that poor old soul. Though she asks for it in some ways, I'll admit. There, that's the lot. I won't lift them. I don't want to strain my gut. Praising that Sarah. I've done just as well. What about me? I should think so, too. Now what is it she's going to get us up to? Pass the parcel. Pass the parcel. This is stupid. Who wants to play silly games? But we all do. We all do as she says. Always. Stupid. A lovely surprise. I can imagine. For me? Pass it on to Ivy. Mrs. Ridge, she's about. Half opened it. Coming to me now, to me, it'll come to. Me. Not quite. Sarah's got it. Not fair. Injustice again. What's in it? There, she didn't have time to win. Hold on in case it stops now. Have. To pass it now. Not fair. Pass it on. Ron. It's that Ron. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha. Ha ha, I shall. Choke. That serves him right? Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Oh dearie me, ha ha. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. It's like in Verdun. That fellow who couldn't speak Flemish, or French was it? He was having dinner in some cafe. Lamb, he thought it was. He enjoyed it so much that he tried to say how pleased he was to the proprietor by pointing at his plate and going baa with a pleasant, questioning look. But the proprietor grinned, shook his head and said, bow wow. It's just a story. It must be just a story. Though anything could happen out there. You could believe anything. And though they said that cities were bad places to live, they certainly produced the best fighters. That's what I found. Paris, too. They had more guts. They had had to fight all their lives. It was natural. We were attached to the French there. Rum once a week if you were lucky. Once it didn't get through. Next day we found the rumworthy oneer dead on the road, not dead drunk as we thought at first. Travel. I've done enough of that in my time, if you don't mind. Her name for the exercise session. Stretch my legs could do with a stretch. Ah. Mrs. Bowen. Shall I give you a turn round? Yes, I feel fine, just for a few minutes. I'm sure she won't want to keep us at it too long tonight, Mrs. Bowen? It was the guns all night. Then over the top at dawn. Why wasn't I killed like most of my mates? It's a mystery. No one can know. I had the new shrapnel helmet on for the first time anything came near my head. Left me a little concussed. That's all. Another time a Jerry got me across it with the butt end of his rifle. But it didn't affect me and I got him with my bayonet while he was recovering from the swing. I'd got used to the noises people made, by then. It was him or me, I knew that. I saw a Jerry using his spiked helmet as a weapon. Hand to hand it was by then, in some attacks. When there were gas shells about you tried to get a Jerry's gas mask off. Some of those old songs still turn me over. March, march, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Don't feel nervous on the corners, do you, Mrs. B? Good. I also saw gunners chained to their pieces to stop them running for it. I saw officers urge their men on from the rear with revolvers in their hands. A man shot dead for answering back one of the officers. 2 weeks before the armistice, my own cousin told me his officer had it in for him and would certainly see to it that he got sent up to the front right to the last. He was blown up with his gun, serving his gun bravely to the end, that so and so wrote to my poor auntie. Sent her the bits and pieces left, his brass numbers all buckled, a tiny wine glass not broken, a present for his daughter, she decided. And there, amongst the tourney, right Right, Mrs. Bowen. Sport now. You won the tourney last time, didn't you? You can do it again. Thanks, Ivy. Take the soggy mop. Oh, this is a right. Lark. Off. Thunder. Off. Better start than Sarah. Faster top speed, better night, harder impact. Very good, Mrs. Bowen, right in the face. Round we go. And back again. We'll have another go. Bomp. Right in the shoulder, Mrs. Bowen. And again. We'll be the winners. 2-0 up. Tiring. Thump. Well done us, MRS. Bowen, we deserve a rest, eh? Well done. I don't want to listen to all that rubbish again. Who does she think I am? Bill and Glory asked. Me to come and play in their pub in the city. I'd never played in pubs before that. Because of my disability I could not be called up. I was too old anyway. But I had to go into industry, everybody had to do that. I had nothing to do at night. Times only go down the shelter or hide out in the suburbs. So I was quite pleased to have something to do. Shortly afterwards America came into the war, and they used to pour out of Liverpool Street Station straight into this pub right opposite. Somehow it seemed that the way I played was just their handwriting. The word got around the aerodromes in East Anglia and the pub did a roaring trade. They would come in there with their 5 days leave and lots of lovely money in their pockets and say sing us the songs the old man sang in the last war. They used to have a good time. I was better off than I had been for a long time. Nothing comes from nothing, I was taught. But what about plants? The space occupied by the growth must have left a space behind. A field of wheat must surely have sunk by the volume of the growth. If not, why not? These questions should be answered. House. Mother up on the dais again. Surely she's not going to tell us all those jokes again? Yes, she is. Groan, not laugh. Heard it before. Shanty listen. The places I can't reach. They must be getting very dirty. Can't scratch them properly, either. They might be festering. They get wet when I bath, but not washed. I am not allowed to be as fastidious as I was. Or rather I am unable, laugh. On the word laugh. You will laugh as ordered. Ha ha ha. I went too far after the ripped with Betty. I just walked out on a job the day after, and walked all over, not knowing. Groan, groan. I didn't care whether I lived or died. As it happened, I lived. I don't know how, at first. We had met too many well-to-do people on our tours, and the girl became dissatisfied. I can understand that now. At the time it seemed bound to happen and very painful. I went hungry once or twice, but soon found how to ask for things with a fair chance of ha. I also offered to do little jobs to help people out in return for the odd meal or place to sleep for the night, and I usually managed. Now what's Ivy done? Poor old girl. Just reading her book quietly. Who wants to see hers? I've seen plenty of them in my time, enough to last me a lifetime, thank you very much. As for that great hairy dog. One day I thought to myself, I can do better than this, so I went into a shop and bought myself a penny whistle. It was a brass 1 because they told me a tin one was illegal. And as the fingering was the same as on the little fife I learned to play at school, it was quite easy for me to pick out a few tunes. So from then on I used to go drifting about all over the country playing my little whistle and picking up enough coppers to keep me going. But there were times when it was hard. People wouldn't give money to a young chap of 33 or 4 or 5 who looked so hale and hearty. They thought I should get a job, not go begging around the streets with a penny whistle. Some of them told me so, too. One man went so far as to knock me down in the gutter, saying he hadn't fought the war for beggars, or something like that. So I showed him my disability, and then he, oh, filth, utter filth. Even in France in the First War I never saw such filth. In front of everyone, too. Filth. Though she looked as though she enjoyed it. Not me, no feels. Listen to her. No, doesn't matter. Ivy Nichols. Age 79. Marital status. Widow. Sight. 65%. Hearing. 55%. Touch. 65%. Taste. 80%. Smell. 70%. Movement. 75%. CQ count. 10. Pathology. Contract years, asthma, osteoporosis, mainly of limbs, inguinal hernia, bronchitis, osteoarthritis, among others. We had then, good friends, who used to come and see us. Just drop in there and then, never mind what was happening. Once they nearly caught me and Ted on the job. Oh, that was comical. We had to shout to them, hang on. While he got his trousers up, but I went out and talked to them. Without my drawers on, I just didn't put them on, and all the while we were talking there was Ted sitting across from me, knowing I had no drawers on tenterhooks as to whether I should uncross my legs too boldly, but Len and Enid knew what we'd been doing, I'm sure, though not that I'd left my drawers off, and we all laughed and had a good time. Oh, we enjoyed ourselves in those days. The cocktails we used to get through. Every week there'd be a new recipe for a cocktail in my women's book and we'd try it, invite the friends round to try the new one. Oh, those were good times. The friends made up for not being able to have children, and soon I began to prefer them. All the trouble that children can be, I saw, and at least the friends didn't have dirty nappies, though they were sick in the bathroom sometimes. The friends, that was a mess to clear up. Wonder I'm not sick like that after food like this. Then she'd have another sort of mess to clear up after me, then she'd have something to complain about, the old bitch. I've a good mind to make complaints about her and this food she gives us. To my friend on the council, I still have friends. All the treats of our social evening, indeed, just like any night is what it'll be, as usual. Give me a good book. Any time, I just want to read. There she is. Again. Hurrying us up. I'd leave some of this if I wasn't so hungry. Never mind, Ivy, doctor's coming tomorrow. How I love him touching me. Let me try to work out a way so he has to touch me a lot when he comes. Difficult. I'll think of something, come the morning. Last scrapings, horrible plates, not like the good china I used to keep for best, not even like the everyday stuff, either. There, finished. I'm finished, clear up, must help Sarah to clear away and then oh, my arm, the creaking, it gets set one way and is so painful to move any distance at all after that. Picking up these plates. She's left more than usual. All right, Sarah, don't wet your knickers. As soon as I've cleared up I'll get my book out and have a good read. I do enjoy a good read, we are allowed books here. If that Sarah will let me read, that is, chatter. She does chatter, all emptiness, on and on. Not like my old friends, all of them, dead now, as soon as we've cleared. I can get down to a, now she's dropped it. Now she'll be in trouble, I'm glad. That's it, give it to her, silly old thing thinks she can move, ha 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 ha. The idea. That dog. She's dotty over that dog. Right, last things, clear up, let's get started on the washing up. 3 volunteers are better than an army of pressed tongue, as they used to say. Off we go. How's your father? Spoon, spoon. Fork, fork, spoon. Knife, fork. Knife, here's a sticky one. Who's been doing what with this one? The joys of life, music while you work, used to listen regularly. Funny how radios just died out, really, no one listens like they used to, so quick, too. Used to sing too. When we had friends round, to the piano, Ted could vamp a little, we used to enjoy strong. Throughout old age, however long. If only we can cheerful stay. And did welcome every day. Not what we've been, not what we've done. What matters most is that we're here. The joys of life continue strong. Throughout old age, however long. The most important thing to do is stay alive and see it through. No matter if the future's dim. For dum-de-dum, de-dum-de-dim. Oh, de-de-de, de-de-de-dear. Oh, lucky us, that we are near. The most important thing to do is stay de-dum and see it through. She didn't notice, did she? No sign. Ah, a good sing-song does you no harm at all. Yes, yes. Ivy this, Ivy that. Why do I do her running around for her? Get the fancy goods boxes over in the cupboard. Right. This glue is nasty. Paste rather than glue. Attracts the mice, I shouldn't wonder. And the rats? Easy for her. Not so easy for some of us. Though I can do it all right. I can do more cracker cases in 10 minutes than some of these can do in a whole evening. Not that I'm proud of it. Won't be able to read now until after we've finished work. What a pity. I do enjoy a good book. Yes. I'll give out the work. Carry round the boxes. What were you doing yesterday, Mrs. Rich? Yes, this must be yours then. What about you, Ron? Here you are. I can't help it. If you don't want to work, Mrs. Rich, tell her. Not me. She's the one who makes you, not me. And you. The cheek of it. I don't have to do this, you know. Here. Wake up, dear. Yes, I knew it, there are my sturts in the bottom of the box, rolling around, sound as though they're hard, so they must have been rolling around here for some time. Filthy mice. Ugh. Mustn't tip them out in front of this dotty old bugger George. He'd only go out and eat them. Though why not? Here you are. Dear, stick this paper like she says, you know. And here are some little sweeties for you, ho ho. Yes, they've all got them now, madam. Kept back the best brush and glue for myself, well. I'm better at it than them. I can do more. Now let's get two of them organized as I did yesterday. A team or syndicate. That's the best way, then we all get the most out of it. Ron. Shall we do it the way we did it yesterday? I know all about your arse, Ron, I know, I weep for your poor old arse, but what can I do? If you do the gluing, at least you don't have to go reaching all over the table for the roll of paper, do you? Come on now, Ron darling. You know you'll only dwell on it otherwise. What have you got to lose? That's it, Ron, that's the ticket. Look, you have this brush and glue, it's the best one, my one. Yes, the best. You'll be all right. With that, you'll do a good job, Ron. Now what about you, Mrs. Bowen, are you going to join us as you did yesterday? Hope so, as I'm not speaking to that bitch Ridge again, and the other two are dummies. Certainly you can do the rolling again, dear. Ron will do the gluing and I'll do the cutting. So we've got 3 rollers between us and they can keep going round, or rather back and forth, between you and Ron. I'm sorry to seem to be ordering you around, but someone has to do the organizing, don't they? Off we go, then. Hope Ron is going to be able to do the gluing properly. It was his fault last time, he's the one who should take the blame for what she was saying. Keep my arms working and moving, so that they don't get still and stiff and said, ah. My book will have to wait until after this work has finished, have to wait. My eyes are not what they were, still, I collected over £700 for the blind club, they'll see to my eyes, for that, not 700 all at once, of course, over the years. Silver paper from chocolate and milk bottle tops. And other things. That was when we were living near Southend. I could have collected for the lifeboat, but I preferred to collect for the blind. Ted did, too. He didn't want me getting mixed up with that lot who collected for the lifeboat. There were some unpleasant women amongst that lot, and men, too, and Ted said he couldn't afford to get in with the wrong lot, what with this new job that we'd gone down there for. In the first place, it was such a good job, a chance in a million, and I thought he might be right. And it turned out he was, after not so very long. And he did so well as a rep for Stevenson's. Ted, you have to cultivate just the right sort of people in that sort of job, and he was so successful at it that within 5 years we moved out of Southend and had our own little bungalow out at Thundersley, a new one, up on the top of Bread and Cheese Hill. Funny name. All our friends used to remark on it, and laugh. We had lots of friends then, they'd call round just when they felt like it to see us. Life seemed so busy then. I joined the Women's Institute and did the flowers for the church on the rota. Time seemed to fly by, doesn't now? I'm getting so annoying fat, through not working, not getting enough exercise in this place. Still, all my life my weight was slowly going up, all the time, all the more to love, Ted used to say, bless him. Oh. Only time I came down a bit in weight was when they cut my womb away. God knows what they didn't cut away as well. Saved my life, they said, but I've never felt the same again. I've heard others say that it made a new woman of them, but not me. I've never been the same. I can truthfully say I miss what they cut away. I'm not the same woman without it. Oh, I'm alive. That was successful. Yes, they would call it a success. You're doing famously, Mrs. Bowen. What a rate. We're going. Oh, I've made a rhyme. Ron, dear, could you please be a little more sparing with the glue? You heard what house Mother said about being careful, you know. His hands now. I thought it was his arse. Arthritis sounds like. It ought to be a disease of the arse really. That's a comical idea, my Ted would have laughed at that one. Well, just try, Ron, you know what she's like. If she's crossed. For your own sake, not mine. Good for you, Ron. It was still like country out there then, that was why we chose the bungalow there. One Sunday afternoon while it was still being built we went to a fair. It was a real country fair with local people, not one of these shady traveling affairs. Here today and gone tomorrow. It was real old fashioned. It reminded me of when I was a little girl. They even had that competition for children. Bobbing they called it, where they had to find a sixpence with their mouths in an earthenware dish filled with flour. Their faces, how everyone laughed at their faces. I remember going in for that myself when I was about 6, and crying at not winning, tears running through the flour on my cheeks, until the man who was judging it sorted out the sixpence with his fingers and gave it to me to make up for not winning the prize. Which was half a crown, I think. A lot of money. They also had a grinning match through horse collars. Very old-fashioned that was, you don't see that nowadays. It was so good to be back in the country again. I was so glad that Ted had got himself that job. I tried to be a good wife to him, did special things for him to show that I loved him, special things. Then there were more bungalows built. The country was creeping farther and farther away. Soon it meant getting in the car if we really wanted to see the real countryside. We were luckier than most in having a car at all, a little Ford. We'd go out of a summer evening to a country pub and have a drink, be quiet for a change. You had to go quite a way, anyway, for a drink, in Thundersley, as when they were building all those bungalows they forgot to build any pubs, or shops too for that matter. I did hear the land had belonged to some religious people or other. In the first place, who wouldn't allow the thought of drink on their property, but that doesn't explain why there were no shops. Soon people began converting their front rooms into shops, and Ted and I toyed with the idea at one time, to give me something to do, as I was free of children, but in the end we decided against it. No need, we were comfortably off. Clear up? That means Ivy clear up. I thought. So. Yes, I will. Here we go again. Don't finish the one I'm doing, just bung it all in the box. Glue and all. Can I have yours, Ron, please? And Mrs. Bowen? Tom Uchley. Let's put the finished ones in this empty box. Shall we? Good. We've done a good day's work, our lot. What about that old cow Ridge's stuff? Not much here. In fact, nothing at all. Say nothing. Just collect the glue and the paper and the scissors. Oh. I wouldn't touch you with someone else's barge pole, you dirty fat git. You say that louder, so she can hear, and you'll get the twitcher again. Move away, quickly. What about the dummies? What have they done? Next to nothing. As usual, what a mess. Mr. Hedbury. As usual for him, too. Yes, that's it, give her the twitcher, the slobbery cow, the twitcher. What a mess, Mrs. Stanton. Nothing. Ah well. Ivy to clear up, as usual, as usual. Pile them away in the cupboard, anyhow. Ah, that's where the mice get in, through the wainscot there. They must like this glue. Shall I tell her about it? Not now. What's she on about? Pass the what? I just want to sit down and get on with my book and have a nice feel. No chance of that now. Oh, a relief to sit down again, a relief. Scratch it, scratch my fan, relief too. Now then, we're ready to go. Sarah, then Charlie, then me. I never win these things. Never have. Here. Don't even talk. To that cowridge. The lucky cow. The music stopped and she's got first go at opening it. Music again. Snatch it and give it to Ron. And you. One of these days. Sarah's got it. Go on, Sarah, undo it. Not quite there. Here it comes. Quickly to Ridge, quicker it goes the sooner it'll come back to me, not while she's keeping it though. Pass the parcel. That shit house again, wonder she's allowed in a good clean house like this. Oh, Ron's got it undone. What's in it, Ron? Ha ha ha, shouldn't laugh, really. But can't help it, ha ha. She said you'd get a lovely surprise, Ron. Ha 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 ha. And you have, too. Ho ho ho. Didn't we used to go at it? What justs we had. Justs, Ted used to call them, his prick. Great lands he'd charge me with, more like a pink rubber truncheon it looked with its Macintosh on. Takes a long while these days. Longer and longer. But we get there in the end. Always. On the reticute rug in front of the gas fire, that was a good one, a particularly memorable one. Long, that took long, but it was extra special. Good when I did come. Chintz we had on the chairs. Then, chintz was all the go in Southend at that time. And making rugs at home. I'd made that rug from a kit they sent you all, exercise. Like a prison, this is exercise time. I like a good walk, a tramp over the moors. Oh well, I can finish later, I wasn't nearly there, anyway. MRS. Stanton would like a push round, I'll do her. Sacrifice myself and feel good, because she smells the worst. Off we go. Yes, she does stink. How are you, Mrs. S? No answer. I've never heard her speak since I came here. Can't hear a thing, can you? MRS Stanton? Poor old girl. Wonder what she was when she was young? Didn't prepare herself for this, obviously. I did. When my Ted went I knew what was coming, so I prepared myself for it. They say women live longer than men because they never retire. Men don't prepare themselves for retirement, as a rule. It's their own funeral. Women are better. Anyway. Push, how she's a weight. Don't get any lighter, do you, MRS Stanton? Puffs you out. Ivy won't end up in a place like this, I said, Ivy won't. There we were, stuck on this little railway station. In the middle of nowhere. Oh, you could read the name of the place well enough, there were lights on, I'll say that for them, but it didn't tell you anything that mattered. And Ted blamed me for not looking out for the place, and I blamed him for wanting his little bit and tiring me out so that I fell asleep. It was a carriage With no corridors and we had a compartment to ourselves. It was tempting at the time, we thought. Why not, we were young then. And the only train stopping at that time of night was going in the opposite direction, so we had the choice of nothing, since he had to be at work at 9 sharp the next day, but sleeping on the wooden benches. And damn me if he doesn't want another bit there. And then, because he couldn't sleep, he said, and it was so funny we both burst out laughing and it was all right again. Now she's dropped off. The things I remember. Push her over there. All right, Mrs. Stanton? Yes, she's all right. Sport. More effort. No, I'm going to sit this one out, she can't make me take part if I don't want to. I'm going to read my book, hear it, Ivy again. Fetch and carry, get the mops. All right, I'll get the mops, but then I'm going to sit down and get on with my book. 1, 2, wet. There. And at least she thanks me. Now where's my book? Here. My marker, torn newspaper. Ah. A bus is not caught by either my father or myself. A number 11, that is, the one we came by, on our return. We walked down the whole length of North End Road. We always do this. We enjoy the street market. Occasionally my father buys something. Usually it is vegetables. Today he buys some Felix meat. For the dog. The dog is a perverse dog. Felix meat is his delight, nothing can make earth seem more like heaven than Felix meat, in his view. I feel it is fortunate that not more of us have views like this. I catch with my father a number 27 bus several minutes after arriving at the bus stop in Hammersmith Road at the end of North End Road. The northern end of North End Road, that is. We could have caught a number 9 or a number 73, to place them in numerical order, had either of these splendid numbers been opportune. But we catch. What a load of old rubbish. No story about it? Boring. Where's my other book? Ah. There was no doubt that Polly Mallinson was dead. Indeed, there was no doubt that Polly Mallinson had been murdered. But the mystery was why anyone should have gone to such enormous pains to murder her in such a complicated way and to have her found in such a crowded place. Ascot Racecourse lies about 20 miles to the southwest of London in pleasant wooded country that is, alas, fast being eaten into by the commuter octopus that is the metropolis. Each year, in the month of June, the Ascot Gold Cup meeting is held there, a race which attracts horses of the very best bloodstock in the world to compete against each other. It equally attracts the best human bloodstock to be found in London during that sunny month, the cream of which clusters into that holy of holies called the Royal Enclosure. On this particular Gold Cup day the race was won by Garlic Clove by a head from hiatus with nose a lad 3 lengths behind, and as Sir William Scodley, KCVO, PC, DSO, and Bar, relaxed from the tension of watching the finish at the crowded rail, he became fully aware of a pressure on him from behind which was natural during the race but hardly necessary now it was over. Reacting firmly but in a manner befitting an officer and a gentleman, he gently eased back. The pressure ceased, and as Sir William turned he was astounded to see what had caused it. It was a young girl, scarcely out of her teens, and she was falling. As he automatically reached out to grasp her arm and save her, he became aware of several things simultaneously. That she was wearing very nearly nothing that rigor mortis had set in anything up to 48 hours previously, and that before she died, someone had been treating her very inconsiderately. Indeed. This is better, know where you are when it's telling you a story. It was not possible to tell what color Polly's eyes might have been, for they were now only enlarged, bloodied sockets. Sufficient remained of her hair, however, to establish that it was almost cert laugh. Now, what's she on about? Stupid. Ha ha. Sufficient remained of her hair, however, to establish that it was almost certainly red gold. It was also fairly certain that whoever Polly had annoyed enough to cause to treat her in this way was a smoker, for he or she had stubbed out innumerable cigarettes all over her. Not normally a man who could be easily shocked, he had seen too much of war and its horrors for that. Sir William gasped as much as any other member of the crowd which quickly gathered round what was left of poor Polly Mallinson. Their idle curiosity was quickly ended by the arrival of two St. John's ambulancemen who covered the body with a blanket and summoned the racecourse police. There was another reason why Sir William was more shocked than perhaps he might otherwise have been, for Polly was his house mother's angry. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'll pay attention. Have to. Be careful now, or I'll be out. Don't want to cause trouble. That's why I'm here. They transferred me from Ravensholm because they said I was a troublemaker. That wasn't all. Can't look after myself, can I? Nearly froze to death. Last time I was on my own. Would have done if that young fellow from down below hadn't come about the wet coming through the ceiling. Fair pair of knockers on her. Hooray. That'll show her I'm still paying attention. Could have had one together if I'd started again sooner. In London one summer, it was one of the times. He was on leave, very hot day, he took me to a nightclub, forget where it was. Didn't see much in it, myself, nor did he. Did a strip for him. Myself that night in the boarding house, much more for him to enjoy. Oh, I was keen on it then. What would Ted say if he saw me today? He's well out of it, that's certain, well out of it. And he didn't have to bear much pain, either, except right at the very end. Doggy, doggy, doggy. Must cost a lot to feed a great brute like that. How much? Pounds and pounds a week. This must be it now. Yes. I could do it like that, once. Used to, often. Don't really miss it now, anymore. What is it? What is it to miss? Listen to her. No, doesn't matter. Ron Lamson. Age. 81. Marital status. Widower. Sight. 30%. Hearing. 45%. Touch. 55%. Taste. 40%. Smell. 40%. Movement. 45%. CQ count. 8. Pathology. Contract years, dehydration, incipient hypochromic anemia, incontinent, inguinal hernia, inoperable rectal carcinoma, among others. Again. The same again. It's not as though they tempted me to eat and risk the agony down below. Cutting down has helped, I was right. The only way not to inflame the piles is not to eat. Found that out. First time I had them. Don't Feel any weaker, I was weak too. Start with. Must eat something, though, to show them, told them I was not a big eater, don't want to be thrown out, not on the streets again, couldn't take it, the ramp, those. Dirty soup is what I should have, a man in my. She's taking my dinner. She can have it. No, the house mother shouldn't hit her like that, that twitcher is a wicked twitcher. Say nothing, hurts to move, peck at this. I don't want it. Weakens you, ah. My riveted arse. A. Feels like nothing. I can think of nothing but the pain at the very center of my arse. Say nothing. Keep quiet. Bear the pain without saying. Soon have to move. Again. A. Dropped it, she has. Mess, it's all a mess. I'd let the dog eat it, easiest way to clear up that sort of mess. Tad would have cleared it up in no time, Tad would. He was a fine dog, Tad, broke my heart when he had to be put to sleep. There was more of me in that dog than there was in myself at that time. They could never understand it, the way I loved that. Oh, the song, must make some effort. She must see me singing. Of life continues strong throughout old age, however long. If only we can cheerful stay, and every day. Not what will. What matters most that we're free. Joys of life continues strong throughout old age, however long. Important to do. Stay alive. No matter if futures knows best, and brings good cheer. AAA. The pain shoots again. Again. Work, no, that will mean moving. No matter how still I try to keep my arse, if my hands are moving then it gives me jip. There. Careful. How can you be careful with her scrappy bits of paper when your arse is giving you jip all the time? You can't keep your mind on anything, can you? Just a smear along one edge, sounds easy, but she doesn't take into account my fingers aren't what they used to be, with this arthritis. Liable to finish them off altogether if, yes, I don't care. That woman's language. They are the gentle sex, they say. Some of them. Oh. I'll try to work, then, it may take my mind off of it, my arse, though I doubt it very much. The red paper, this isn't the roller I had yesterday, mine was newer than this. This is grubby. That slimy old woman must have been using it, getting her filthy spittle all over it. Ugh. But don't complain, never complain about such a small thing. Never complain about the small things. Get on with it. The pain shoots. I can't Ivy, it's my arse. I'm in constant pain from it. There's no words to describe it. Whether I work or not I still get it, nothing I can do makes it any the easier. Nothing to lose. You're right, Ivy, I've nothing to lose, nothing. The best one? Can't think what state the others must be in, then. Have a look. Yes, the others look pretty lousy, all glued up. And bristles coming out and dirty. For small mercies. I'll just finish this one on my own. There's no satisfaction in it, in any of it, now. Off we go. Slop pity glue. In the mind the pain shooting up my. Went to the doctor. Piles He said at once. No, I've had them, not the same. This time. No, he said, doctors know best. Must. Ask her if I can see the doctor sooner than Thursday. Day. Can't wait till then. She'll not like it. She hates anyone making a fuss. I can't do it. I can't wait, either, till Thursday. Keep quiet about it, then. Ivy understands about my problem, would make someone a good wife, still, Ivy. Nothing to look at, of course, she doesn't even seem to have that look of peace that some of the other women have. Did she have a hard time of it? There's no telling. Still hurts to glue, I still have to move even ever so slightly. How can I think about anything else? It's constant, the pain, what else is there to think about? It goes round and round. In circles, my mind, off it, on it, not very often off it. Luxury bed, downy pillows, none of your plastic filled articles. Out. Out, he said, and out he took it, left a gap at the back of my mouth, felt like a bomb crater, kept poking my tongue in it, all salty. Blood, you can't help it, can you? Stray. Stray, stray. And then you don't know where you are. Still. Don't understand how he swindled me on that deal. Just know he definitely did swindle me. I paid him 300 for the whole consignment, and somehow when I got it it was only a consignment, for which I would have paid 180, if that. 200 at the most. His name was Flannery or Chinnery or something like that, a sharp one he was, he could swindle you. So's you had no way of getting back at him, offices. He called it, yes. More careful still. My hands, this arthritis, Ivy, I'm being as careful as I can, really I am. Not very interested, anyway, balls to it, nothing makes the pain any better, don't make one any better. Concentrating on the other, Yes, I know what she's like when she's crossed. Yes, Ivy, I'll try. Don't want to cross house. Mother. Then there was that sneaky little sod who also had one of the railway arches down there behind the Broadway. He could drop you in the fertilizer too if you weren't very careful, though with him you could see it coming. And you could watch out for it. And never deal with him unless you had to. The best way was to play safe and sell before you had bought. Make sure you had a sale before you paid for whatever it was. Even then you could get caught sometimes. Find yourself Not again, I could do with a better cushion than this. She ought to provide an air cushion for people in my condition. I've even seen people take them on buses, if they were in this painful condition. What can I do? Only ask, and I'm afraid to do that. More glue. Mrs. Bowen, can you pass me your glue, please? This one's finished. Thanks very much, Mrs. Bowen. Yes, all right now. There may be others like me. I hope so. I hope not. On the other hand, I would not wish it on them. Finish. Finish now. Didn't do much to take my mind off of it. A little. A very little. Still, it's something. A little something. She's all right. That Ivy. A good sort. Finish this last one, nice and tidy. Yes, here it is, Ivy. They're nice and tidy today, aren't they, Ivy? Try again. They're better today, Ivy. No proper answer. Well, I think they're better than yesterday's. And considering all the circumstances, too. Let them complain. That's it, until they complain. Then I don't care. Ivy and that Mrs. Ridge are always having a go at each other. Stupid bastards, the pair of them. We're the best, we are. That's all right, then, that's a relief. Forgot my arse for just 2 minutes. Pass the parcel. What a waste of time, more movement, but pass the parcel, up my arkle. My arse again, keep still. Keep still, a fart would be a blessing, daren't. No. The pain. Pass the parcel. Chuck the bleeding thing. But what's in it? Sarah's getting it open. Now. It's off again. Curiosity. It's my turn, that old woman's cheating. Pass it on. No need to chuck it at me. It's stopped. It's me, I can get it undone, I'll win. What is it? Shit. It's a parcel of shit. Is that what I've won? Is that all? Stinking shit. 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 Why? Get up. She wants us to take exercise. Take up thy arse and walk. I'll try. The pain can't be worse. Yes, it can. But try again. To walk. The pleasure of it. As I stroll along the promenade. It must be a tidy. Middling. The trouble with business is that you can think you're doing so well and then you get caught for a tidy packet. Right into the middling, right into the fertilizer. It may be something to do with the way I walk, of course. That may have something to do with it. Hemorrhoids or piles. Just as though you could choose. I shall try again to remember my first fuck. The first is the one you never forget, they say. They are not right in my case, not for the first time, either. Yet I remember it was when I was 17, because that was what I said when questioned about it some time later. But who it was is difficult to remember. Who did I know at 17? It must have been someone from the town. I would not have been stupid enough to shit on my own village doorstep, as we say in the trade. In that case, it might have. No, I can't walk anymore, I must sit and be damned to her. And her dog. If that seed had borne fruit, I should have a child of over 60 now. It might have been a son, a competitor. Tom was never a competitor, none of them. I was their father, and I saw I remained so. Oh yes. Who could it have been? My memory's playing me up. Again, so she was red-haired, ginger-eyed and had a pair of tits on her like twin mountains and an arse as broad as East Anglia. Her fanny was like a red ravine, dry and dusty, not so dusty. Her face? I can't remember her face. Ah, yes. That was fun last time, the tourney. I enjoyed it. Wonder if I can get a bet on this time. MRS. Bowen won easily, I'll back her. Mrs. Ridge. I'll bet you my breakfast milk that Mrs. Bowen wins. But what will you give me if I win? Right, you're on. Shake. Now I've got a bet on. They're at the tapes. Come on Mrs. Bowen. Lot depends on Charlie pushing. 2. There. Off. Hooray. 1 up to me. They're off. Again. Come on Charlie. Raw. 2 up, I shall win. They're off. Last time, I must win 2 to 1 at least. Rah! Cheers for Mrs. Bowen and Charlie. You owe me a feel. Mrs. Ridge, a feel, tonight? She gets it both ways, she does. If she'd ve. One she'd ve got my breakfast milk, as it is she gets a feel she'll enjoy just as much as I will. More, probably, with my arse in this state. That's funny, forgot it during the tourney. Just goes to show, just goes to show. But it's getting worse now, it's paying me back, aaaao. Oh. Aao. No, try to think of something to take my mind off. The feel, that's something to look forward to. Oh, but it's no help now. What shall I do? Started when I was 52, it's a punishment for tossing off that little boy when I was in the Navy, it's a punishment, be sure your sins will find you out. He asked for it, he was a saucy little sod, and I paid him a few piastres. Aaaaoaoaoa. Aaaa. Ooaaa. Eel. Oh. Aa. Et. Ook. Ooio so. Aaaagia. We never did think we'd live to see him grow up. I'll force myself to think of something else. We never did to see. Think we never did. We'd live. A few piastres seemed so little at the time, for what it was. Years after, that smell. City of galloping. Nabrod. This can't go on surely. Something must bust, it must give the pain over. It must make me bust 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 sheep over the edge 1 3 6 10 fuck them all. Nothing comes of it, nothing seems to help. You'd think they would be able to do something for you. People have been suffering from sore arse holes since time began. No, regular, it comes in waves. Oof. Ood. Listen to her. No, doesn't matter. Gloria Ridge. Age 85. Marital status not known. Sight 45%. Hearing 55%. Touch 30%. Taste 20%. Smell 60%. Movement 45%. CQ count 6. Pathology: contract years, plantar fasciitis, mental confusion, progressive senile dementia, cholecystitis, osteoporosis, among others. Me and then get this down, me and then I'll be alright. Spuds and mashed and with knees. Try hard peas. Shovel peas in, more then I'll be alright. More. General sold his cockerel. The meat is good, more meat, that's the thing, must eat to get right, get this down, me and then I'll be alright, that's it, ask for more meat. More meat? He's not going to eat his, no, I'll have his, must eat, how he can leave it I don't know, here Twitcher. No. My hands. The backs of my hands. Hurts not for long, I've got over worse, I'm the toughest. They said it was just a craze. Wanting to eat, it would never catch on, la. Catchy. I always did believe in ruining your own work, it was one of my fondest beliefs. If you do that, then you don't have to be beholden to somebody. do you? Scrape the plate, the mash off corners. Swinging on ropes, nothing much on, just something round his unmentionables, as we used to call them, into all that mucky water and crawl eyes. Out in the bare colds or rocks was it? Only a picture after all. Another one I saw had Charlie Chimpanzee in it, when I was that high. Then we had Gilbert Harding being rude, we enjoyed it. Diving into the crawl eyes and the water all covered by scrum, those jungle creepers. How we used to laugh. She ought to show us films here. Though some would abuse the privilege, they never do. It would never do. Da-da, mama. Brisket and taters, brisket, brisket. A trisket, my love biscuit, brown bread and waistcoat. Crumbs to his watch piece. My name's Gloria, Glory. For short. It's too far this time. May I never? My true love went once round fingering, blue hair he had with his long black eyes, 4'3". In his bloomers, I remember him so clearly, it was in a pub we first met, I was with my mates at the time, he was with his yellow jumper and pale skirt. This for 2 or more I was with him. Standing in the dark. Milk stout was all our tipple, then. He was my first, it was raining at the time. She's in trouble this time, not me, house mother'll hit her, not me, this time. No, she's not, that's not fair, she's only getting a tongue lashing. Not the twitcher, it's not fair, not fair. Me. Me 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 me. Say it aloud. Me. The twitcher, lucky. She didn't hear, lucky me. A gallon of gin I must have. Drunk last night, this won't do, where's the money coming from? It doesn't get him anywhere. I must cut down on the food, supporters, and suspenders. It won't do, I won't have his drinking though. I'll have his drink, Ben, note what you'll be. What matters most is what will be. The joys of life continue strong. Throughout old age, however long. Most important thing to do is stay alive and see it through. No matter if the future's dim. Just keep straight on and trust in him. For he knows best and brings good beer. Oh lucky us that we are here. The most important thing to do is stay alive and see it through. Now she ought to be pleased with me, no twitcher, no one can sing louder than I can, not even that fat slob Ivy, cow. Work. The people must work if they are to earn their daily bread. Life is not all butter, someone has to earn the guns as well, haha. What's she giving them to do? I could do it, whatever it is. Here. Twitcher. The twitcher. It's not only that, there are trips and lazy breeders for supper, summer in a sauce made of milk and parsley. I think. Careful. I'm always careful, never let them stick it up me. Without a rubber on, very careful all my life. Never had no kids, never. Very careful. Very clever, that's me. I can do that easy. That crinkly paper's not very good for it though. Not very good at it? Nasty work. Only fit for the ibis. Nothing. Nothing. Not my box, hate this. Work, nothing here, who makes me? Don't want this work. Don't want this work. Or. This Ivy, cow she is, slum-mocky old cow. Slum-mocky old shit cow? That annoyed her, that'll teach her to order me about, I'm not here to be ordered about. Except by the twitcher, that's all that keeps me quiet. The only thing. I'll just sit here, that's what I'll do, just sit here, and only work if I feel like it. Start 1. Roll the paper round the roller. Here, this isn't as easy. Roller roller penny a paint, penny a pent, old cow, I'll roller, red paper, red paint. Red roller roller roller. And just leave it like that. Then anyone who sees me will think I've just broken off for a moment. Oh, I'm clever, you know, I know all the dodges, I learned them, all the dodgers. When I was working, you learn all the dodgers to work as little as. This way I won't have to touch the horrible glue, no, not even to touch it. The Twitchers. Gone up the stage with her, the Twitcher has, by the Twitcher, good riddance Twitcher. If I just sit here and keep quiet and do nothing, then she won't come down here again with the Twitcher for me, the Twitcher for me. If Yeri know a garlic, the Twitchers for me. If possible keep on going where they are all like, mind you, if I was her I would not put up with any of it, myself. It pays to keep up with your payments. Sometimes we wouldn't. They were all away. The girls had it away. No one played at home, then. She's going to team up with those two. Now they won't talk to me. It's not fair. Yesterday she did it, too. She deliberately doesn't ask me. I'm sure of that. I can do this as well as anyone. Round the roller, the glue. I could be part of the team. It hurts. Where are they all gone? I had them here, all of them. And now they're not here. It may be my true love, my one true love. His hair was golden, his eyes were blue, he stood 6 feet 2. In his bare socks, the first one. My one true. 1 2, dozens since then. He bumped into me. Coming out of the 4L bar into the corridor. There I was scrubbing near the milk stout. I was a young girl then. He was my first. Swept me off my feet. Swept my chimney, he called it, my black chimney. What could I say? It was a frosty morning. Frost clears away the flu and does good for England. Everything's in a mess. That time they let me play. Let the pickaninny join in. That Bobby yelled. I enjoyed it more than my tapioca. What would you say if I took off my arm and gave it to you in a stew? Got you there, got you there. Why not? It was the milkman and his wife who ruined it. What made him marry a mad woman? The cream curdled all, she would and all. So instead of doing nothing, you would rather do nothing. I spit at you. That Ivy is a slum-mocky swine. Her tits hang down. In really, you can't see her tits, she just has a bulge. She's got no tits, a long streak of gravy. What that Ivy has done to me. How many times have I had hot dinners than hot times? Where do they all come from? She pinched my last piece of meat. The piece I had been saving, she did, that Ivy. But Jesus will come for my end. He will lift me up into his heavenly boudoir and I will sing with the angels all the night long. The stars will shine down on me when he comes, his milky stout, and the sun will come out and beam upon the starry firmament. And we shall all live happily ever after ever until the end, amen. Ah, isn't that nice? Except for Ivy. She'll not have an end, she'll go on with her gravy tits and sticky fingers all her life. Until she dies and well well well. They can talk. And what about the price of candles? A girl can't go on and on burning her wick at both ends, can she? When will we be allowed to see what really goes on? Yesterday they won the war, all the Tommies came home raving for it. Their only pride was between their legs, like a dog's tail. We worked over time. No fear of that, I said, when he came. I've been a good girl, after my way, always fashionable. I wore a hooped crinoline sort of dress. Starched sleeves, bare arse. Oh, we were proudish. Then. Now when I try to brush up my brushing, it hurts. Under my armpit, hurts. I should go to the doctor. He'll help me, the doctor in Marjorie Street. Walk up through Exmouth Market, by some priest shoulder. At a stall, then up past that place in Amwell Street that always smells of flux, opposite the other church, and down into Marjorie Street, rest my feet. Good doctor, he is, he'll heal my armpit. Nasty nagging pain and then it comes sharply, ouch. Or some smoked salmon scraps, not shoulder, only. A tanner a quarter, bits off the edges. Bones, scraps, one of my fondest favorites. Smoked salmon scraps from Exmouth Market, chew them, get the bits out, just as good as they pay earth for, lots more. Hungry again, nothing more till breakfast, there's worse to come. My one true love. His hair was raven black, his eyes were green, he stood 4'3" in his bear, the first one. My one too. One true. Several since then. He jostled me in the public bar when I was a scrubber. I must have been 40 by then, a mere. The milk stout I remember. Coming out of quart bottles. No one must know. How many beans since then? There must have been. One after one after one after one after one after one, no. These things make us all try for the sky. Jesus will not in here, you won't. Was Jesus a shepherd? Did they have sheep in the desert? He could make food for them, fish and bread, wish he could make me some now, I'm hungry. They don't feed us here. In my day I'd pop down the shop on the corner for a quarter of Wall's luncheon meat and a tin of peas. That's a good feed. What's she at now? Is she coming down here again? Yes. But not the Twitcher, ha, she's left. The Twitcher up on the stage. Good. Here comes horrible Ivy creeping down the table. Ivy the creeper, after the work. They must be finished. Haven't done any. Who cares, who cares? Can't make me work. Just try it. Ivy the creeper. Crawley, can't touch me. You are a stinky woman. Twitcher's up on the stage, mere. Now she'll come to me next, without her Twitcher. Now. Why should I work? Leave me, leave me. While there is no pie. We make hay, 6 times 7 sends you to heaven. Whampot, whampit, wampit. It was a lively leading Leto when we first could greet groaning the great Don Green with grassy longings, if only I could now, how. This must be enough to be going on with. There's always tomorrow, after all, always, pass the parcel, what's this, I love games. Pass the parcel and I'm the winner, the postman brings me a parcel, brown paper, must be mine, I'm a winner. Post today, late for Christmas, make sure I'm the one who gets the lovely surprise at the end. Some thing to look forward to. Off we go. Next to me, me. Parcel for me. Open it, the music stopped. Feels soft, strip off the paper. What can it be? Music. Oh. You bastard sod. Cow woman Ivy, answering back, she always on my back. Get off my back, you cow Ivy. Next to me. Here again. Stink. What is it? Hold on to it. Unwrap some more. Yes, stink. Rules. All right, have it. I won't be interested in your game anymore, won't play anymore. Stinking rotten game. Whose game do you particularly, the long ones, I could always give rise to a long one, it was my speciality in those days. Madam had 4 in her room, she would give one to us girls as a favor, she would, and I was always the most special favorite. I was, 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 I was. One was, I was, I was, was, was. All the B's, bottom, bum, behind, buttocks. Arse. I know what killed him, I know what killed him. That night, too much of a good thing, that's what killed him, heart attack during the night. The doctor called it, but I know it was too much of a good thing that killed him. He was a good husband to me. I had 80 children by him, too much of a good thing done for him in the, now what? Travel. I hate exercise. But the twitcher. Oh, so fat I can hardly move. Waddle. Waddle, what's it matter now, don't have to attract the fellers any longer, so what's it matter? More a job to keep them away, ha ha. Ha ha, that Ron, ha. Round. Round. Keep away from that stinking Ivy. One of these days she'll bring me to such a point that I'll forget myself and dot her one where she won't like it at all, no. Where no one likes it? My true love's hair was red, red as the dawn. My one true love. His eyes were brown, he stood 4 foot umpteen in his boots. My 1 2 3 4, who's counting? Ha ha. I bumped into him as I was sloshing the floor in the gents. He stumbled over my bucket and there we were on the floor, at it among the J's and Lysol. He swept me off his feet. I was quite a young thing then, stout with it, I enjoyed it. Who'd have thought it, in those days? That Ron has sat down, so. Shall I, twitcher or no twitcher, she must give it him first, if she's fair, the twitcher, he sat down first, Ron. We waved and waved as he went by, King George the Sixth, they let us off dirty to wave from the upper windows, it was so exciting, us girls, it turned me over, truly it did, waiting for hours. We were in the hot sun, it was late December. And the banners were out, we waved our Union Jacks, and cheered and cheered. It was quite good. That was at the time when I was afraid I might become queen myself one day, no. Twitcher if she's going to run a tourney, good. What's that? Your breakfast milk? Yes, I'll bet. You, Ron. All I've got that you'd want, Ron, is a quiet feel in the toilet before bed. Shake. 2 lots of breakfast milk for me, yes. Always too many cornflakes and not enough milk. That'll be nice, something real nice to look forward to. There they go. Silly old fool got himself hit. And again. Won't get me 2 lots. Never mind. I'll get a feel. 3 times. Ron certainly backed the right one. You shall have it, Ron, never fear, you shall have it. Wonder what he'll feel? My. 'Twat is favorite, or at least it used to be. Or perhaps he wants me to hold his horrible. Or bag of creepy skin. Anyway, it'll be short, Ron, I'll promise you that. No, Shanty, listen. Bung. My ears up. This big meat pie, so big. You could hardly get yourself round it. So big. 3 of us made it together, for the club. In those days they let you, and my friend Edie got me together with all this lard and flour. It must come soon. Bought lots and lots of meat. Very expensive. For the upper crust we had gulls, and this tower like the Eiffel Tower, it was in the middle. It held up the crust very nicely with just a little point sticking out. Oh, it did taste nice. Wasn't there none left over for the curates? We were good in those days, in spite of that rationing. You had to be good to get anything off of grocers and such like. They had a marvelous time of it, having it off in the back stores. Where are they now, the Martins, and perhaps all dead? No Edie, Frank, Johnny, Doug, Maeve, Dill, no, none of them. Where do they all go? Where are they now? Where am I now? How can all these things be here and not them? That would be a curious caper, as he used to say. I asked for a job once. Where are your references? They said you've got to have the right pieces of paper, you see. At the time you want I want a jobbies. It is very confusing, laughing. Laugh. Laugh. Laugh, I nearly died. We went round the halls. One night, lead in his pencil, more like a grate. Big, his blood pressure was high, laugh. You never saw anything like it? We were in a box, boxes of chocolates, programs. As many cigarettes as you could eat. A very good show, but I know what he was after with his great purple pen. Like a lick of my seaside, he would say. I would. In the first place there were too many. There, in the third it was neither here nor there but underneath, where we all liked it. Underneath, pass me the d'oilies, she would say. Just like that, pass, good. That Ivy's getting it. It's a change, give her the twitcher, house. Mother. Now she's in trouble, bitch Ivy. Fat slummy greasy Ivy. Fatty Ivy chop, buy them. At the family butcher's. So what? She's giving us the benefit, again. Lovely. Have it off, let's all see. Oh, she threw her clothes over the dog. Now the other. That's it? Oh, I always enjoy this bit, it reminds me of the old days when I was out working. How far now? Oops. They're all off, all. Hurrah. Never with a dog, we went to the dog's home to choose one but came away without one. I couldn't have kept it anyway. My new dress is stained with custard. Who did that, now? It must have been that Ivy, I know it was that Ivy. Cow. Custard cow, taking no notice, getting her own back. Because my tits are better than hers, custard cow. Cowardy custard cow. True love, blue eyes, green, 6 foot if an inch, he was tall as well with it, scrubber I was, the first. Listen to her. No, doesn't matter. Zion Bowen. Age 89. Marital status. Widow. Sight, 50%. Hearing, 40%. Touch, 35%. Taste, 55%. Smell, 45%. Movement, 20%. CQ count, 8. Pathology, contract years, diabetes mellitus, colonic diverticulitis, benign renal carcinoma, lesion of alimentary tract, paraplegia, among others. Tasty. Meat then. That house, the kitchen itself could seat 20 of us, did at Christmas before we served them. It was warmer than the servants' hall. That word worries me still. Always hated to think of myself as a servant. He didn't, almost reveled in it. He did, knew his place, and that was a servant's place. Indeed, this custard, slop and greens, how can she, in that kitchen? There were great bowls we broke the eggs into for custard. Real custard, the arm you needed to beat that many would fell. An ox, 2 of us girls would take turn and turn about. Some times my arm hurt so much that kitchen was so big 20 of us could. The mahogany cupboards, sets of drawers with brass handles, how I hated brass, a waste to have brass to keep clean, but then he would say it was good. My soul indeed. What he was interested in was not my soul. The old sod. With his great stomach, the stomach he had on him. Why not, he said. Because not, I told him. The stomach on him, he'd be round the kitchen spooning out the leavings in the big oven trays. Laughing if cook or anyone tried to stop him, dodging round. And knocking things over with his great stomach and fat arse. I know. There was too much room in that kitchen, cook used to say. Even when she had to cook for 60, there were that many guests there on occasion. Oh dear me, yes. The mahogany cupboards, the whole range too. Black lead, eggs to beat, the meringues the sisters liked too much. We used to put the yolks in scrambled eggs the next morning. It was the best way to use them up. Years afterwards. Went into town one week and there he was, years after. Outside the bear, his great stomach even bigger. Grinning. I felt my insides twist. I couldn't help myself. He had the effect on me. In summer the sun used to beat down on the range. It used to make it that hot. Working there, double. My name is Zion. I work here. You're a pretty thing. How could I see it coming? Clear up now, I'll help. I can still move, you know, push at the wheels, I'll help, get the plates together, there. Lift, oh no. I didn't mean to drop them, miss. I wouldn't try to. Feed the doggy, you've told us not to. Yes, I deserve it. CAH, CAH, CAH goats. In the paddock, there. We had goats, then, never ate it ourselves, but the sisters did. I never liked it, I wasn't squeamish, no, but the sisters. No. I won't sing her song. I think it's silly, so she can do the other thing. As though it mattered, it wasn't my fault. No, they can clear up on their own, a little mess like that. What matters most? Old age long, ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Futures dim. Him. Most important thing. Through. Ha ha. Nearly choked then. I think it's so silly, they can all go and do the other thing. I'm tired. Oh. Must have dozed off. Ivy's giving out the work, that's good, always like something to do. Never idle, keeps you going, idle hands make idle work, get down to it, I can do this, fancy. Goods again, It's hard for me with my fingers, but I can do it if I set myself to it. Yes, where's the glue? Ah. Roll it round nice and smooth, hold it tight, snip it off, glue, glue, loverly glue. And Bob's your uncle. Oh, I can do these. I'll beat Ivy today, I'll do more than she can, if she lets me have enough paper. Roll it round, nice and smooth, hold it tight, snip snip and it's off, paste the glue along the edge, press together, another one done. Roll it round, nice and nice, hold it tight, snip it off, off it comes, good paper this time. Press the glue, too much that time, never mind it. It's not as though she's paying us, snip snip. Go the scissors, I can do this without thinking, easy. Got it off to a fine art, like I used to when I was at Fuller's, packing. We used to have races amongst ourselves to see who could fill most cartons first. I'd usually win. There was only one girl who could give me a run for my money, not that we ever bet on it. Her name was Fair Hair, rosy cheeks she had, a bit cheeky with the men from bakery she was, too, given half a chance. What was her name? One afternoon I remember it was so hot that she undressed right there, took everything off under her overall and sat there in just her overall. Bold as a knocker, any of the bakery men could have come in just then and seen her stark naked. We were all holding our breath at the nerve of it. There she was, right in. Yes, dear, what do you want? Yes, I'll join you, if I can do the rolling again. Like I did before. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Forget, there must have been one day I was beating Ivy and she kept on keeping the paper from me so that I wouldn't beat her, but Ivy seems to think it was yesterday we worked together. Perhaps it was, her memory may be better than mine is getting shocking. Yes, someone has to do the organizing. And it always seems to be you. If it's not house mother, it's Ivy. She's welcome. Roll it round now, nice and easy, that's the way. Smoothly does it. There. Easy. The still room next to the carved room would wait on my own and listen. The company lords and ladies. Sometimes the carving I did not like, it was heavy and dark, it did not reach to the ceiling because it had belonged to the older house. Over the doors it said 1636 in a shield, but the house itself was more modern, the rooms were taller and bigger, the carving was patterns and crests and shields of families they were related to, or wanted it thought that they were related to, the way. Mirrors opposite the back lawn with a sundial. The house itself I loved from the first moment I saw it, though it meant servitude to me. It was the people who made me a servant. Walking from the village with Megan Williams along the galloping drive, miles of rhododendrons. Suddenly you could see a top corner of the house. Black and white, but big, bigger than any other black and white I'd seen, though when you were nearer you could see it wasn't wood, it was a black and white pattern in plaster or something like that, but it was a lovely house. I forgave it that cheating. The hall. The portrait of Miss Irwin and the paneling was oak. It took some polishing and a great brass-bound trunk, with studs. It broke my heart. That place died in 1939, died. They told me. Even took away my name, didn't like Zion. Wouldn't call me that, or even Janet, gave me a new name to suit them, Emma, that I hated. Most of all, I think. Alan Llewellyn said fuck it in bead threading. Did not know what it meant then. I don't think he did, either. Miss Jones made a fuss about it. She washed out his mouth with soap and water. We did not understand, but he was careful what he said. After that. In fact, from that day on he was never a great talker, was Alan Llewellyn. Bowen Gowan. Yes, Ivy, you made a rhyme. No one's ever made up a rhyme about my name. Before, never. Yes, we are doing well. I'll have to catch up or I won't beat her. Mr. David worked in the small library. I would take coffee to him, with biscuits on a tray from the still room or the kitchen. He would speak to me in Welsh, which I did not usually use among the other servants. His wife had died before I came to the hall. He had spent much of his time at his sister's place since then. He would be working at the Welsh books. The small library was a cozy place. Sometimes he liked to talk to me. Made me feel proud of being Welsh. The other servants were all trying to ape being English. There was very little Welsh spoken in the kitchen. The factor hated to hear Welsh spoken. He swore and bullied us if he heard us. May we receive that which for grateful until ever after. No one came was to be successful in the fullness, the first place. The lions over Hammersmith station would go there for tea. In the war, no meal could cost more than 5 shillings. Essential war work. Indeed. Better than the British restaurants or the canteen at Fuller's. But even in the war, Fuller's gave you your wedding cake if you were getting married, free. Told him that, but he said he wasn't going to get tied down just for the sake of an unrationed wedding cake. We're happy as we are, he said, aren't we? What's he want now? Filthy old man always fingering his backside. Glue. Yes, here. And have Ivies, too, then you won't have to stretch over and hurt yourself so much. All right. Now. Have to be. How many of these does she want us to do? On and on still, Ivy'll tell me when she thinks it's enough. Ivy's doing the organizing here. Finish at last. I'll say we've done a good session. Worked my poor old fingers into an ache. Glad that's over for one day. It makes a difference. I've worked harder than Ron. I'm 4 or 5 ahead of him, spare, all those. I'm good. Yes. Here's my bits and pieces, Ivy, and good riddance. Yes, pack them neatly in, crackers. For Christmas. Why can't we have some different colored paper? I'm fed up with this sort of red, rotten red. I may not be very, but I am. Here she comes. I hope she'll like what we've done. Ron is stupid. They're not bad, are they, miss? Better than hers, anyway. Oh, she hasn't done any, Mrs. Ridge. How does she get away with it? So tired now. I'll drop off in my chair soon if she doesn't watch out. Pass the parcel. Haven't played that since I was a child. Sweets it? Was usually very small packet of sweets wrapped round and round and round with lots and lots and lots of paper and string and brown sticky paper. It was such a letdown in the end, but that made it all the more fun, and it meant that all those who didn't win were less disappointed when it turned out to be next to nothing. Oh, it's my turn. Parcel feels exciting. On to George. Marvelous, he moves past it to Sarah, as well. He must be getting better, old George. You never know, he might even say something next that would Be a miracle. She shouldn't keep it, you can't trust that Mrs. Ridge. To be fair in the slightest. Oh, the music stopped, and Ron's the one to open it. I wonder what it can be? Not very nice at all. Why did she do that? Poor old Ron, I feel sorry for him, his backside in that sort of state, too. It's not right at all. The factor was a swine. A swine. And he was a villain, too. He came there with hardly a penny to his name, and died. Worth 20,000. How he got it is a long story. He would tell the sisters things had been done on the estate when he knew very well they hadn't. And he'd pocket the money, of course. One day Miss Mary called me into her in the great drawing room and asked me if I knew where the factor was. He's gone to Birmingham, I said. To pay the coal bill, she said, but he could have done it by post. I gave him a check. I think she knew then he was taking a backhander and had gone to collect it. She would never hear a word against him until then. That day I think she realized what a villain he was, but it was too late. She was travel, no, what she means by that is don't mind, passes the time. But who's going to push me? Yes, that would be good of you, Charlie. A gentle turn round the hall. Sure you really feel up to it, though? When the factor retired, he made a bonfire of papers from his office and it burned for 3 days. He built his own house, how he ever did that I'll never know, out of their money. How could a man on his salary ever save 20,000? The family knew, of course, and tried to tell Auntie Mary, but she would hear no word against him. He even had his own electricity line from the big house, a mile across the fields. So he got his light free. Though he did good work. I'll agree, but he never did it unless there was a backhander in it for him. But you could never prove anything against him, that was the difficulty. And he had the power of life and death over some of us, by dismissing us. Not that I ever wished to prove anything against him, I got on quite well with him apart, not at all, Charlie, not at all. It must have been some time after I came across his only cousin in Rhyl, near the front. She looked well and was well off. She would be, of course. We're the last to be exercising. All the others have given up. Tourney, oh yes, I won that last time, beat old Ron Hollow, though. He does have his troubles down there. Hang on a minute, Charlie. Lift, adjust, myself. That's it, over to the corner by the cup board. Yes. Yes, Charlie, I can. Here's my mop. What's she soaked it in this time? Smells like what you were mixing, Charlie. Lark is right, Charlie. Let's get hold of this mop properly. Now where shall I try to land it first? Off. He's a good pusher, Charlie. George's let his mop fall, get him right in the puss. One to me, very pleased. Off we go again. I shall win again, I know. George is hopeless. Aim at chest this time, oh flinch. Shoulder. Still a solid blow, his hardly flicked me with wet. Good, at last time. I'll aim for his bread basket. This go carefully, carefully. Got him. Mrs. Bowen the champion, she should have said. Twice I've won now, I'm the champion. I've never won many things in my life, but I'm the champion here. There it comes over me. Again. Faintness. Won't last. Long. Not long. It just takes some time before you're back to yourself again. Auntie Mary did leave me something in her will. They were good like that, remembering. It was very little. They didn't used to give pensions to their staff however long they'd been there. They left a lump sum in their will, the sisters. Fat comfort to some. A little use to me now. I can buy myself the odd Guinness if I can find anyone to go out for it for me. They had their own bread, we baked every other day. But no brewer. Though, they were teetotal, very strict. Not chapel. Church, but very TT just the same. They knew the gardeners drank ale with their dinners. But woe betide anyone who brought it into the hall. I did once, felt ever so guilty. I was low at the time and I bought myself a small bottle of gin from the Bear. Normally, I felt so safe in my little attic room. Well, it was not so little, it was a reasonable size. But all the time I had that bottle in the room I felt as though I were a criminal. My little room. The washstand with the plain green jug and bowl, the window, quite big really, looking down on the lawns and across the bridge to the Warren. I had some happy hours there, it was not all hardship. Most of the time I didn't have to share it, only if we had company and they had servants. My bed along one side, and an old easy chair, the high back sort with wings, donkey's years old, a picture Miss Irwin had painted herself, brown lino on the floor. I was content, no, at the time I hated every minute of being a servant. Only now does it seem pleasant. The lilac curtains, my own flowery jerry under the bed. But clothes behind the curtains in the alcove. They may be like it still, the hall is still there. I should think, but now it is probably a guest house. Or something like that, perhaps they've sold it to build houses on, chopped down all those lovely trees. Everything changes. Nothing gets better. I was going to read myself, but daren't now she's given Ivy a taste of her tongue. But I'm not going to watch this filth again, why she does. It baffles me. Surely she can't think it stirs us up. Summer we would go down the Bodie, where the single gardeners lived, next to the walled garden and the greenhouses. They'd grow all sorts for the sisters there, figs and peaches. You didn't get anywhere else in the county, or so they said. A boiler house in the basement of the Bodie, coal down a chute. The long winters. I can remember it exactly. Why can't I remember what happened yesterday? My friends would say I was forward. Just because I used to look men right in the eyes. None of that shy retiring for me. That's what men and women's eyes are for, I would say to them. They knew what I meant, they would giggle. Rabbits were common, we had trout out of the stream, too, poached. The sisters did not make a fuss about that sort of thieving like some of the gentry around those parts. Why trout were thought so special I could never understand. Anyone who'd had them as often as I have would prefer a good fresh herring any day. Listen to her. No, doesn't matter. George Hedbury. Age 89. Marital status. Bachelor. Sight 10%. Hearing 15%. Touch 25%. Taste 20%. Smell 10%. Movement 15%. CQ count. 2. Pathology. Contract years, incontinent, advanced. Inanition, chronic rheumatoid arthritis. Paget's disease, advanced senile. Depression, muscle atrophy, fibrositis. Intermittent renal failure, among many others. Lame. Source. Unfer. Dale. 4. Y. Otter. Et. Schools. Consuls. How are you? In the pink. Straining. Cox's orange pippin. No matter if the future's dim. Keep right on and suffer him. Work. Work fancy, ah. Crepe paper, creper crepep creper. Crepe. Creper. 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 Creper, yes. Stick she says? Et. Creper. Glue little round. Sweeties are they? Glass. Spitting spitting spitting. Maybe, ah. Thorben, Thorben. Seal. Floors. With. Full. Continued. Of. Some. July. Grim. At. Point of. In. Does. There are. In does. In does. Will. Sake. Best. My. Horse. Which. To. Still. My. Name at. Anger at me. She no more. No more meat and gravy. And. Oh. It's oh dear, what have I been doing? She goes. There. A mess, yes. But she's not no. Fear. Cheek. When I get better. Package. For me pass, park. What? Quite. 3 and 6 9 and 6 15. Name it. Moving. Everything's moving. Moving. Stopped good. What's this? Jerk. Moving this. Stick. Oh. Splashish what was? Smell. Mop not this mop. What? Aik. Shoulder. Blank. Aik. No, doesn't matter. Rosetta Stanton. Age. 94. Marital status. Not known. Sight. 5%. Hearing. 10%. Touch. 5%. Taste. 15%. Smell. 20%. Movement. 5%. CQ count. 0. Pathology. Everything everyone else has, plus incipient bronchial pneumonia, atherosclerotic dementia, probably AMENT, hemiplegia, with negative Babinski response, to name only a very few. Galuag. Lucas. Inad. Nadr. Teg. Enwag. Girwar. Arabus. Iashus. Hell. Achaf. Grimus. Hwaliog. Even Silphane. Math. Adian. Reed. Gorwick. Anional. Rhyw. Ethol. Tur. Hwaddle. Achelry. Gralon. Hoy. Arian. Serenug. Eiffel. Lu. Und. Nisov. Tialung. Egnul. Gris. Arlun. Ieuan. Hagin. Uther. Gagoniant. Huon. Epil. Sibber. Disclare. Adurno. Fini. Ini. Degrove. Drud. Tyrion. Eisen. Grin. Adadiad. Ifin. Hadu. Unall. Golinad. Hall. Error. Sayphone. I am. Terrible, Ivy. Now I can every word you say. I am a prisoner in my self. It is terrible. The movement agonizes me. Let me out, or I shall die. No, I do not get any lighter, Ivy. I intend not to get ny thing any more. No more. House mother. Age 42. Marital status. Divorcee. Sight 85%. Hearing 90%. Touch 100%. Taste 40%. Smell 95%. Movement 100%. CQ count 10. Pathology. Mild clap, incipient influenza, dandruff, malignant cerebral carcinoma, dormant. They are fed, they are my friends. Is that not enough? And what would be enough? Some of them indeed are not capable of differentiating between meat and bread. No. That is not an argument for not giving them meat. A balanced diet is essential to the health of the aged. I know that. I know what is best for them. I am a trained house mother. Did I not work under Frau Holstein of the house in Basley? Ah! Sunny days sitting on the slopes of the Moron, or walking by the Green River, with that good woman. Yes, I know what I am talking about, friend, as regards diet and everything else to do with the efficient running of a tidy. No. You can't have any more meat, you gutsy greedy old slobbery cow. The impertinence of it. And what does she think of next? I can read her like a book. She is after Ron's meat, a bird-like eater. Ron, the Twitcher, will stop her. No. 3 from the Twitcher for thieves, Mrs. Ridge. 1, 2, 3. There. That will teach you, Mrs. Ridge. Treat them like children. They are children, aren't they? This is truly their second childhood, isn't it? Oh, do not think I justify myself. I have no psychological need to do that, friend, none at all. Do not deceive yourself. Deception is a sin if not a crime. Now come on, finish up like good second children. There's all the treats of our weekly social evening to come. So many of them look beautiful. Manage to keep some beauty, even acquire some beauty. I use the word advisedly. Even the bearded Stanton lady, in her way. Come along now. Chivy chivy chivy. Day. Dreaming, most of them, they remember years ago far better. Then they remember to change themselves, or ask to be changed. They admire the past, think so much of the past. Why? Therefore do they expect treatment any different from that they would have received in the workhouse of the past? Ah, you can bet, friend, they prefer at least this aspect of modern life, do not want to return to the good old workhouse days. Oh dear me, no, no. Isn't that a not unpleasing paradox? This may be a charitable institution, that may be the form of words, but it is as remote from what was known as a workhouse as my Ralphie is from a dingo. Right now. Clear up. Quietly. If you please, this is not a band house or boating. What do you imagine you're at? Quietly. At least we don't have washing up to do with these cardboard plates. Just shoot the lot for pigs, will sell it. Must see if I can get more off that Swineberry, ha, though he gets Enough off me one way or the other, besides the odd bit of the other. I give him a good class of swill for his pigs, they must enjoy the cardboard, I think. Pigs eat anything, they say. No complaints, anyway, and it's all good for you dirty old person. What a mess, dropped the lot. Thought you were feeding Ralphie, did you? I tell you. Ralphie wouldn't touch it after you had. He has only the finest dog meat, 2 tins a day, 2 large tins, that is. Come here, Ralphie my darling, did they try to tempt you with muck, Ralphie? There, there. Feel the flowing of those muscles, how tense he strains. 5 times. What a dog. Mrs. Bowen, I think we'll make that your last chance to drop anything, shall we? Come on now. Last one to clear up is a sissy. Really? Must get on to the office again about help. Can't run this place any longer with just a part-time cook. And I'm not cooking once more in that place when she's off sick or drunk. They'll have to give me help, have to. Right, at last. We've finished clearing up our mess, haven't we, and so now it's time for the house song. Not to say the house hymn. Are we ready? Then. All together now, let's be hearing from you in the balcony as well. 1, 2, 3. The joys of life continue strong throughout old age, however long. If only you can cheerful stay and brightly welcome every day. Not what you've been, not what you'll be. What matters now is that you're free. The joys of life continue strong throughout old age, however long. The most important thing to do is stay alive and screw. No matter if the future's dim. So long as I can use my quim. For I know best, and bring no cheer. Oh, lucky me, that I am here. The most important thing to do is screw and screw and screw and screw. What a delightful song that is. Now it's work, everyone, work, and then play, play. Later. Our little good deed for the day, work. Ivy. Fetch the boxes, please. It's fancy goods. Again tonight, my dears, fancy goods except for Sarah and Charlie, who I've got something very special in mind for. Now my little fancy goods man wasn't too pleased with the work you did yesterday. I'm sorry to say, sorry for your sakes, that is, not for mine, of course. Can we just be a little bit more careful tonight? Not get the sticky glue all over our fingers, but only where it's supposed to go. Ivy, give me one of those here. You see, it's quite simple. You just cut your crepe paper to the width of your little wooden roller, roll it round like this and very carefully glue all along the edge, very carefully, mind you. Very carefully. You don't need much glue, just a smear along one edge. Is that all clear? So let's do our little good deed for the day, but do it well if we're going to do it at all. Ivy. Give out the work then, please. Sarah and Charlie. My trusties, I have something special for you tonight. Charlie, I want you to pour about a quarter of each of these bottles into one of the empty ones here until it's 3/4 full. 3 bottles pour a quarter out of, that is, until this one's also 3/4 full, and when you've got them all 3/4 full, then top them up with water from your tap. All right? But please be careful not to stain any of the labels with drips. There's a good trusty, my old Charlie. No, I know you haven't. No, Charlie. Now Sarah, I want you to do a similar job for me, though not quite the same. You see these little bottles? I'd like you just to soak the labels off, make the bottles quite clean afterwards. No, I don't want the labels kept for anything, no, so you can get them off any way you like, tear them, scrape them with your nails, oh. Yes, by all means. Use a knife from the washing up. Everyone happy, then. Ivy, see that everyone has a pot of glue and enough to get on with. All right, friends. I'm going to work, too, get on with my own work up on the stage. Talk by all means, but let's not have too much noise, eh? Bless you. My children. From this dais, I am monarch of all I survey. This is my empire. I do not exaggerate, friend. They are dependent upon me and upon such minions as I have from time to time. Nothing is more sure than that I am in control of them. And they know it. They vie with each other for my attention. This is especially noticeable on the tablet round. Each night and morning. On the weekly medical round their attention is divided between the good doctor and myself. They are undecided as to whether to play for the once-a-week prestige of his attention, or for mine that it may perhaps be available more than once a week. Perhaps even daily. Oh, how comic that is. For I love only Ralphie. Ralphie is my darling. Where are you, Ralphie? Ralph, come here at once. The dirty doggy. Licking at that mess under poor old Mrs. Stanton. Hope it's only water. Perhaps it's gravy from dinner. There, Ralphie, there's a good dog, that's my hairy darling. There are always complaints, of course. Complaining is one of the few activities into which they put some genuine feeling. It is good for them, of course. I listen very carefully to their complaints. And then do nothing. There is nothing for them really to complain about here. They would be so much worse off if they were not in here. The hazards of hypothermia, falls, neglect. But it does not worry me if complaining is their favorite occupation. It is also a way of vying for my attention. I fondle Ralphie in front of them, and that keeps up their interest. It frustrates them and gives them a reason to be going on. What would become of them if I took this away? Oh, I did not study for 5 years for nothing, friend, or waste my time as an abject disciple of Frau Holstein. No. It gives them something to worry about instead of worrying about their reactions not being as sharp as they were, their voices not quite so resonant, that they are forgetful, and confused, and so on and so forth. And then there are the diversions I provide, as well. The Sally Army comes round, collecting several times a month. They enjoy that, it is one of their favorite treats. Come and join. Then we have the old-time evening, provided by the council once a year, too, when they're not too busy. Oh, to them it must seem like one mad merry-go-round. And a school children's choir every now and again. Then there's always the telly, when it's working. That reminds me. Must get it repaired again, it's over 2 months now. In return, they do these little jobbies for me. Handicrafts, felt toys last month. And now Christmas crackers, in due season. They seem to be getting on reasonably well. Of course, I can't expect Mrs. Stanton and George to do very much. but the important thing for them is that it is there in front of them to be done if they do wake up or otherwise become capable of doing it. That really is the important thing, we all agree. All the books agree. I give Mrs. Stanton about 3 weeks, and George could pop off any minute. But I must get down to my work, too. Here, Ralphie. Come and lie comfortingly on my feet while I work on my accounts. Have to be careful with these, no names, no initials. Either, or at least not the right ones. Frederick, first names will do. Do I need to keep accounts? Yes, for my own benefit. Frederick, then, 350 boxes filled with felt toy bits. How much? At 5 pence a box, 500 pence a 100 boxes, a fiver 100 boxes, 3 and a half fivers are 17 pounds and a half, 50 pence. So that he still owes me. When will he be round with another lot? Can't tell. It's that sort of business. He must be on some big purchase tax fiddle. Income tax, too. I shouldn't wonder. Then there was the penicillin lump sum for altering that lot. 20 pounds. Shipped abroad. No doubt, as something or other that it isn't. But that's none of my business, it doesn't worry me either. My job is to keep my friends happy, and if it makes money, then so much the better. Do you not agree, friend? Oh, again, do not think I have to justify myself. 17 plastic ashtrays, £1 exactly. A job lot. Contacts are all important in this business. It is not enough just to add Vertus in the trade papers. I must write to a large number, of likely sources of employment. I must point out to them the unique advantages of my methods of outworking. This should, Charlie, my old trusty, I can tell. When you have that lost look on your face that you are not puzzling over some problem of philosophy, or even of filling those bottles, but merely and genteelly trying to fart without Sarah or anyone else noticing. Charlie. Ralphie warm on my feet. What you do not understand, I think, friend, is that what we imagine they want for them selves is not actually what they do want. I do not know what they want, either. But I do know that they are certainly not as we are, and that therefore by definition they do not want what we want. How does anyone know what anyone else really wants? Multiply that by the diffusing effect of time, friend, which alters with every day, every minute. Virtually. When I was 8 I wanted to be a fairy. In a ballet, ho ho ho. He. Ha ha ha. Het. 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 And similar printers' straitjackets for the gusty, exploding liberation of laughter. But I forget myself. Where was I? Yes, the divisional officer asked me whether I would like to undertake a week's exchange with a seaside house. Really, I said to him, don't you think that would be rather absurd with my group of friends? Besides, though I didn't tell him this, I had my stationery goods quota to meet that week. Which reminds me, how many sets of pens and rulers was it he still owes me for? Look it up. Yes, 230. I'll have to mention that to him when he comes, whenever. Can't be too careful. That shows the value of keeping accounts. It's certain he wouldn't have remembered it, conveniently, unless I'd mentioned it. Don't think I do this for the money, friend. The Council takes all their pensions and allows them back £1 each for their personal expenditure. That is too much, to my way of thinking. They have no need of that much pocket money. No, friend. Not for their money, you can see there is little chance here of the quick one, sir. Ah, Charlie has nearly finished. He'll be asking me about corks soon. I'll go down now. The rest might as well finish now, too. Right now, everyone. You can finish now. You've done a good session of work, and so now you deserve to play. But let's clear up first. Shall we? Ivy, please collect the boxes for us. Descend from my throne. Charlie, yes, I knew you'd ask. You've got corks. From the ones which were full, haven't you? Good. Then here's some more for the others, just stand the boxes in the corner if you will, please, afterwards. Ralphie. Come away from that. You all right? Mrs. Stanton? Right as she'll ever be. Done no work at all. George, you've just been daydreaming and screwing up the bits of paper and getting the bleeding glue all over the place. Ugh. Still, what did I expect? How about you, Mrs. Bowen? You've been working with Ivy and Ron, have you? Very nicely, too. You've done a lot between you. Yes, yes. And greedy old Mrs. Rich. You haven't done any. Don't you cheek me or you'll get another taste of the Twitcher. Now then. Very good, Sarah, my old trusty, what a lovely job you've made of those. I'm very pleased with you. Very pleased indeed. Yes, and you, Charlie. Now let's have some relaxation. Attention please. Everyone. Stay where you are. Sitting round the long table, and we're going to play pass the parcel. You pass the parcel from one to another, and when the music stops whoever has it tries to open it. When the music starts again, the parcel must be passed on. And so on. And what a lovely surprise the last one's going to get, the winner. Here we go then. You start off with the music, Sarah. Off we go. Music on. Stop. At Mrs. Ridge. On again. Music stopped at Sarah. Give her a treat, she's worked well, give her a bit of excitement. On again. Oh my darlings, how I love you. Pass it on, Mrs. Ridge. While the music's playing it. I should think so. Stop the music. Who's won, then? Yes, it's Ron. Ron's the lucky winner. You're right, Ron, first time. It's shit. But whose shit is it? That's the question. I'll sing it for you. Pass the parcel, pass the parcel. See what comes from Ralphie's arsehole. How disgusting. You must be saying to yourself, friend, and I cannot but agree. But think a bit harder, friend, why do I discuss them? I discuss them in order that they may not be disgusted with themselves. I am disgusting to them. In order to objectify their disgust, to direct it to something outside themselves, something harmless. Some of them still believe in God. What would happen if they were to turn their disgust on God? For taking away control over their own sphincter muscles, for instance, and think, naturally enough, that he must be vile to be responsible for such a thing. Far better for them to think handling and smelling and seeing doggy's turd is disgusting. Do you not agree? Right, everyone. Attention please. The game is over and now it's our travel time. It's so much more tasteful an expression than exercise. Don't you think, friend? Travel time. Yes, I know your old bones protest, but you know it's good for you. Those of you who can walk push round those in wheelchairs, those in wheelchairs move everything. You can move as you go. Off we go now. There are worse conditions and worse places, friend. I have worked in geriatric wards where the stench of urine and masturbation was relieved only by the odd gangrenous limb or advanced carcinoma. Where confused patients ate each other's puke. Where I have seen a nurse spray a patient's privates with an aerosol lavatory deodorant. Even worse, people like these can be put away in mental wards and homes. When they are perfectly sane, simply because they are old, they don't stay perfectly sane long. They are stripped of their spectacles, false teeth, everything personal to them. They are shut away. Visits are rare and discouraged anyway, no one cares. They are forgotten and wholly in the power of nurses, who have been known to make them alter their wills, to scatter the ward's pills for everyone to scramble for, and to put Largactil in the tea unmeasured. This is a happy house, friend, a holiday camp. Compared. Here I give them constant occupation, and, most important, a framework within which to establish. Indeed, to possess, their own special personalities. Here we respect their petty possessions, so important to them but rubbish to us. This is the time when the bearing surfaces of the joints begin to wear seriously, when the walls of the veins and arteries harden, when the nervous system loses much of its subtlety. It has always been so. Today we can give them more time, by nylon balls and sockets, drugs to thin the blood, Largactil to lift nervous depression, but ultimately these are nothing. You should understand the simple fact that they are all approaching death very quickly, and one must help them to do so in the right spirit. It is what used to be called a holy duty. I did not invent this system, I inherited it. And in the end death will come to me too, probably. There. They enjoy it. Sometimes for a change I have them doing travel in the form of bizarre sexual antics. As if sexual, that is, in the case of some friends. And now I give you, sport. Yes, it's tourney time again, friends. Remember how you enjoyed the last tourney we had? Of course you do. Get the wet mops, Ivy, please. And Charlie, you will Mrs. Bowen to one corner, and you, Sarah, will George to the opposite corner. That's it? One mop each. Ivy, thank you. On the word, then, steeds and knights, you thunder. At top speed towards each other, never flinching. Like bold and parfait jaunty knights, and try to lance each other. No stopping. Straight on, turn. And back for another joust. Ready then? And may the best knight win. 1, 2, 3. Well done, Mrs. Bowen. A palpable hit. One more time, then. Off you go. Another hit for Mrs. Bowen. Sarah, see if George is still awake, will you? He doesn't seem to be trying very hard. Last joust, then. Away you go. At various times in the past we have had balloon races, polo, folk dancing and archery. Mrs. Bowen the winner. Back to the table, now. The Noblani competition was very popular, too. So after all our exertions let's just have a quiet discussion session, shall we? And as always our Subject is how I want to go and its related topics my choice. Of coffin or what I want done with my earthly remains. First of all, let us remember first principles. Death may be seen as the price paid for what the body is, that is, the very biological functioning of the body, its very nature, inherently implies and contains death. This debt is paid in installments. And the period of old age is that in which all arrears must be settled. Death indeed may often be a lot less painful than life, the actual dying, that is. There are various ways of facing this death. Whether you believe in God or not, there is still the possibility. He or she will be there waiting for you after death. Those of you wishing for a coin to be placed in your mouths or victuals to be provided for a postulated journey have only to let us know. Again, you may see death as the exchange of individual life for biological improvement and conservation as part of a scheme for higher fulfillment on the part of some life force. Or you can simply see yourselves as potentially a heap of rather superior manure. There is, in fact, no disianure in that. However you look at it, someone has to decide what to do with what you leave behind you, and as this is a democratic institution, we give you this opportunity to decide, for yourselves, between burial, cremation, acid bath, remote moorland exposure, or whatever. No replies. Never are. I just hand them over to an undertaker who probably uses them for meat pies, anyway. And now at last what you have all been waiting for. Entertainment. Up on the stage for this, so that they can see better. Here's one you'll all enjoy. A little girl, let's call her Dottie, was sitting on her granddad's knee. And said, "Granddad, were you in the ark?" "No, of course I wasn't," said the granddad, somewhat taken aback. "Then why," said delightful little Dottie, "weren't you drowned? Isn't that a funny one? Laugh, you stupid old twats. Here's another one, even better. Most of you are at the metallic stage of your lives. Silver in your hair, gold in your teeth, and, in the case of the men, lead in your trousers. Laugh. I'll give them just one more. There was a very old couple. The husband was 98 and the wife was 95. One day their son died, aged 72. The husband consoled his grief-stricken wife by saying, there, dear, we never did think we'd live to see him grow up. All right, so it's a rotten joke. What do you expect, professional comics? But I must just tell you this last one. A man lying on his deathbed was asked if he had made his peace with God. "I didn't know we had ever had a row," said the man, wittily. Isn't that screamingly funny? Mind you, he didn't get into heaven either. A slight laugh. How curious that heaven does concern some of them in the way, Ivy. How dare you read a book during entertainment? Who do you think you are? How dare you? I should think so too. You'd all better watch now, it's the piece de resistance. Turn on the sexy music. Ralphie. Here, boy. Here we go, then, sway, that's it, just right, slowly unbutton my overall, so they can see I have only a bra. Then only tights underneath. Cast off the overall over Ralphie. Up on the table slowly down with my stocking. Tights one leg the other I can see you're enjoying this. All watching, except Mrs. Stanton, asleep or dead, does it matter? Now. My bra, Tante Elise by appearing to have difficulty Wouldn't they all rather be dead? Ah, friend, that is where we make a mistake. 4. They would all rather be alive. All. Tights. Gossamer, off stand. And the music swells to an early climax. Here, Ralphie. Up on the table. With Mummy. That's it, you know what to do with your long probing red borzoi tongue, don't you, Ralphie? Lovely. That's it? Oh, Ralphie. Faster. We're getting near the end of the page, Ralphie. Oh. Thuriel. Nearly. Yes. There. Wasn't that wonderful? I know you two have your little feels in the toilets. Good luck to you. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. And now we must be in just the mood to sing the jubilati before we all vanish up our own orifices. All together now. 1, 2, 3. Death comes to all, no matter who. No matter what we bloody do. Despite lacrosse, PE, and gym. Our lights at last will surely dim. For this we should stand up and cheer. And please ourselves while we are here. Death comes to all, no matter who. No matter what you bloody do. And here you see, friend, I am about to step outside the convention, the framework of 21 pages per person. Thus you see I too am the puppet or concoction of a writer, you always knew there was a writer behind it all. Ah, there's no fooling you readers, a writer who has me at present standing in the post-orgasmic nude but who still expects me to be his words without embarrassment or personal comfort. So, you see this is from his skull. It is a diagram of certain aspects of the inside of his skull. What a laugh. Still, I'll finish off for him, about the sadness. The need to go farther better to appreciate the nearer, what you have now, if you are not like our friends, friend, laugh now, prepare, accept. Worse times are a-coming, nothing is more sure. But here's something he found in the Montgomeryshire collections and thought you might like to have for yourself, friend. F for Francis. I for chances. N for Nicholas. I for tickle us. S for Sammy the salt box. About the author. B.S. Johnson was born in 1933 at Hammersmith and, apart from the war, during which he was an evacuee, lived in London most of his life. He read English at King's College, London, and was married with 2 children. His other novels include Travelling People, which won the Gregory Award for 1962, Alberi Angelo, 1964, Trawl, which won the Somerset Maugham Award for 1967, The Unfortunates, 1969, Christy Mallory's Own Double Entry, 1973, and See the Old Lady Decently Buried, 1975, published posthumously. He also published 2 volumes of poetry, Statement Against Corpses, short stories with the Pakistani poet Zulfikar Ghosh, 1964, Street Children, text for photographs by Julia Trevelyan Oman, 1964, and a volume of non-fictional pieces, Aren't You Rather Young to Be Writing Your Memoirs, 1973, and edited The Evacuees, 1968. He was poetry editor of Transatlantic Review and in 1970 was appointed the first Gregynog Arts Fellow in the University of Wales. He also worked as a film and television director, and his You're Human Like the Rest of Them won the Grand Prix at 2 international short film festivals in 1968. His play B.S. Johnson v. God was staged at the Basement Theatre in 1971. His work received great critical acclaim. Of his novel House Mother Normal, The Times of London said the most accomplished tour de force so far from a writer who has always rejected the Dickensian limitations of the novel, and Gavin Ewart described it as a remarkable book, original and extremely well written. He died in 1973.